a toss behind him. It is Reese, and Reese dives in. Touchdown, Baylor.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Plumlee going for O'Keefe once more into the end zone, and it's a touchdown.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Stein's the snapper, Reed Bowers the holder, and here is Cam Little to take the lead for the Hogs. It hit the top and rains down into the end zone.
Sikkim 365 Radio is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Toss to Reese, hit in the end zone, and he is going down. Kendall Daniels was in there first, and it's a safety for the Cowboys.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Double pass. There it is. Going long for Worthy. And he gets Sanders. The first one goes to Worthy and then to Sanders for the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Thursday afternoon. It is glorious. It's gorgeous where we are in Central Texas. Hopefully it is where you are, wherever you might be. We are loaded up with guests today to discuss Kansas, college football in general, the Cowboys in the NFL, UT as they get ready for Oklahoma. And then, of course, we'll have Craig's Off the Radar. And on top of that, Jennifer Smoak, Fantasy Football League guru. So much to get to today, including, before we get to anything putting up on the screen, last night UCF beat SMU 41-19. SMU scored with no time left on a touchdown run, short touchdown run. John Rice Plumlee was fantastic. Reese Plumlee was fantastic, 316 yards and 2 scores. And UCF beat up Tanner Mordecai and SMU to get that important win for them. Of course, a future Big 12 team in the Knights.
Yeah, John Rice Plumlee was good at 20 of 29. Only 9 incompletions, had over 300 yards passing, and they were in a tight game at halftime. But UCF with a huge second half, and it was good to see. Ryan O'Keefe had a big game, a Texas guy. But yeah, huge performance for the Knights, especially there in the third and fourth quarter to pull away there. And man, if you're SMU, I think you feel a bit shell shocked. Feeling like, that was, again, a close game at halftime, and you just got ran out of the building in the second half. So tough loss for Rhett Lashley and company, and, not the best performance for our buddy Tanner Mordecai, but terrific performance for the Knights. And that's, it's now conference play. They're at 4-1. Just keep winning games there in the American, and let's see where it takes them. But it was nice to, have a performance from them to be able to really feel good about and talk about. Not that they've, not done anything to this point, but just this jumped off the page a little bit more, beating SMU the way that they did and how they did. So, yeah, good win for UCF.
Somewhat competitive early on, and then UCF just started separating, and SMU drops to 2-3, and a nice win for UCF. The Knights now win their opener in the conference, now 4-1 overall. No games tonight in college football. But tomorrow night, Houston plays at Memphis. It's kind of watching what's going on with Houston, the Cougars. Also, Colorado State at Nevada. UNLV, that's Philip Venzer's team at San Jose State, Nebraska, Big Ten game at Rutgers. Those are games tomorrow night. Now, here is Brett McMurphy on the game that is the best game in the Big 12. At least it's supposed to be based on where they are and who they are right now. But Saturday's TCU game at Kansas. Game day is going to be there. Officially sold out. Jayhawks' third consecutive home sellout in as many weeks. They are, as you know, fired up over the unbeaten Jayhawks and Lance Leipold.
Yeah, I mean, as they should be. Look, they've been irrelevant for the better part of, almost almost 2 decades at this point.
It's been 15 years since that 2017 was okay. 2005, I think, is the one that had the big year, 2005 or 7. But it's been almost, 15 years or so.
That was been almost 20 years, yeah. So, it's been over 15 years. It's been a long time for them. And to be at this stage where they're hosting College GameDay, and they've got a young player who, is exciting the fans and could potentially be exciting the country, depending on, how they get the chance to view him this weekend, how he performs under the spotlight. And Jalen Daniels, there's a lot of opportunities still out there for UCF hosting, game day and hosting this game. And if they were to get a win, then I think, eyes are already opening, but they would really have to open because there's a lot of heat coming in with this TCU team and what they did last weekend against Oklahoma. So I'm not expecting a Kansas win here. I don't know, how good TCU is either. I don't know how they really stack up with each other, but I'm, fascinated to see this game. And this is not a game. If you said, hey, pick your top however many Big 12 games, what would this come in? Top 50-ish, maybe?
Say that again? Top what?
Pick your top games in the Big 12. Where does TCU Kansas come in before the year?
Oh, before the year started. It would have been I would have had to look at many more games before we said that one, yes.
Yeah, so I don't even know where this game would have registered in people's minds. And so, to have it hosting College GameDay, I think is pretty cool, pretty special. And, obviously there's the distractions potentially of just Lance Leipold, but they seem to be handling those really well. Now it's just a matter of can they just, keep beating teams. Last week they really shouldn't have won that game against Iowa State. They did, and commend them for how they did it, although, Iowa State did that to themselves in many ways as well, but still it was impressive they were able to come out with a win. But you kind of just feel all right, when's the magic going to run out? And I wonder if it's going to be this weekend. And if it's not and they get a win over TCU, they get a top 25 win, then that would be incredible for them, but also a great opportunity for Sonny Dykes and company. So, it's going to be really interesting.
All right. Also, Texas, Oklahoma, Saturday at the Cotton Bowl. And the story this week has been the fact that neither one of them are ranked, but it's still Texas OU. In this story, Pete Thamel reporting that sources saying that Quinn Ewers will return for Texas on Saturday, expected to start in the Red River game. We'll have Jeff Howe, who covers Texas, at around 5:10 today. The story was out that he was going to return, and Pete Thamel takes it to a level that is expected to start based on sources. I always thought that this was kind of this is when they penciled this in, maybe even thinking that Oklahoma-Texas would be a bigger game. It's still a huge game because of the rivalry, and one of these two teams is going to be in a free fall, whoever doesn't win, and the other one may get a little jump kickstart to the rest of their season.
I think, that's not surprising news, really. It expected he was going to be back at some point in the next few weeks, and this just lines up to make a lot of sense for it to be his big return. I know it's got to make Longhorn fans just salivate over the possibilities of what he could do to that Oklahoma defense. At the same time, they better hope he does perform well. If he comes out there and somehow they still get a W, Oklahoma that is, and that would be something pretty crazy given what we saw last week. So, that's a huge morale boost and good surprise. Or not surprise, but good news for Texas and for Oklahoma. I think you got so many problems in-house right now that Ewers is just maybe that adds a little something to it, but I think you're already worried enough about Hudson Card as is. So, they've got their work cut out for him, even more so probably now because we know that he can sling it, and I think it'll be, interesting to see him out there for the first time in a while and see more than the glimpse that we got against Alabama, because you really think about how much we've seen Quinn Ewers. We've seen a sample size, basically. Now, if he's ready to get back in the saddle, starting with Oklahoma, I think that's great news for Texas, and let's see where the ride takes him.
All right, also this news on a quarterback from the state of Texas as far as in a game this weekend. A&M playing in Tuscaloosa against Alabama. Ian Fitzsimmons, who's been a guest on this show, saying and reporting that A&M Max Johnson has a broken bone in his throwing hand. Sadly, according to Ian's tweet, he might be done for the season, at least for the foreseeable future. The foreseeable future is Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. So back to the Haynes King getting, you would think, the start for Texas A&M this weekend.
That's just another tough blow for Texas A&M. I guess this basically calms down the Jimbo talk in so many ways, and I know people probably say, well, why is that? Why would it calm it down? Because, now what do you expect from him? Now that another quarterback's hurt, so they have no choice but to go to Haynes King. We already know what that's looked like. Now they're playing Alabama. I mean, I guess in theory they could come up with some magical surprise performance this weekend, but I don't think anybody's really expecting that. Now, one of your options is hurt. So, just tough year, gets tougher for A&M. I do think this softens kind of the talk around Jimbo, just because now you're down a guy that you're going to be relying on. Not that that's going to calm all talk about his job and the job that he's doing and the buyout and all that, but it's one of those, it's like Sarkisian. Like, are you going to fire him because Quinn Ewers is hurt? You know what I mean? Like, I think having an injury at quarterback kind of changes the talk a little bit, because you're not dealing with your full arsenal. But, at the same time, how good was Max Johnson going to be the rest of the way? We don't know that either. We do know, however, what we saw with Haynes King, and hopefully things have gotten a little better for him. But, it's just not great right now in College Station, and there's still a long way to go in this season. So best of luck to Max Johnson. But that's a really, tough break, no pun intended, for that young man. Just really unfortunate for him.
Some of those on the chat room, some of you on the chat room, listen to Zesty's Retro and Games. Go Jayhawks. Paxton, Quinn is back with the hook 'em horn sign. John Hammond, good afternoon all. Paxton, spread is already up to 9.5. Buckshot Kid, Texas OU. A 9.5 spread. That's a big number. Buckshot Kid, hello everyone. Lee Buttercup, Sick'em. Steve Sexton, it's 2 p.m. Mountain Time and Oklahoma still sucks. Scotty B, well, I don't feel that great because I have stomach issues. At times, I feel fine. Other times, I don't. Tide Guy, roll Tide. Robert Laney, go UCF Knights. We mentioned them off the top. John, again, roll Tide. Laura Weiss, hello, y'all. And, of course, with the Cactus for Texas Tech. And then Patrick Cheney, hello, 365 family. So glad to be here with you all today. Looking forward to another great show. Thank you. Smash the like button. Alex, howdy, go Pokes. Steve, Aggies suck. Steve's in not a good mood among rivals of Texas. Bob Kramer, 282.5. Never would have imagined. Bob, thank you for that. That's the story about the weight and loss. I've had Max Johnson out, perhaps, for Scotty B, as he mentioned. Laura, to the Baylor folks, game against Tex in Lubbock is sold out already, and that's not a surprise. Tide Guy, Saturday's my birthday, so that's my present this year. Rock Shock from Bradley. One more, Daryl Zimmer, UCF in typical Big 12 fashion destroys SMU. And one more, Clint Moses, let's go Beavers. We'll get to some of the others, but we appreciate those of you on the chat room today. Also, I put this up when Richard Reese scored. I had a run. Yeah, scored, I guess it was, against Oklahoma State. I put this up, Reese's Pieces, and it's, of course, the candy. So this came from Darren Rovell, does a lot of sports business. Reese's signed NIL deals with college football players named Reese. Deal includes a Reese's Reese gold chain and pendant, Reese's cup links, and Reese's mini fridge for their locker. And down that list, you see the names of the teams: Delaware State, Tulsa, Troy, Nevada, UNLV, Florida, Tennessee State, Auburn, Michigan, Duke, Mississippi, Liberty, and at the bottom, Richard Reese, the running back, the freshman from Belleville, from Baylor University. And when I see these kind of stories, and it could have been anybody, it could have been 10 other teams. That's to me part of the coolness of what the NIL was supposed to be about. And of course, everything's good, whatever you can possibly get.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really cool deal for Richard Reese and everybody else involved. That's, I don't know, the cool part of NIL, yeah, that's the kind of deal that you sort of envisioned and imagined. I think for the athletes, the cool part of NIL is just any money they can get anywhere. Yep. But, for us outsiders, we typically default to that's cute type of things versus the big money, like just booster throwing money out type of scenarios that we've seen from time to time. Yeah, this is more of what was probably envisioned in certainly a unique idea by Reese's. To see the opportunity there in college football, and cool. I'm sure that we'll get a shot of that chain that Richard Reese has. I'm curious to see that if he wears it the next press conference or whatever. If we get a chance to talk to him, and when we do, we'll ask him about it for sure. That's a really cool deal for him and everybody else.
Somebody asked earlier in the day, asked me about Baylor and updates on injuries and players that could come back after the break. Well, they're off this week, so Dave Aranda won't be available to us until Saturday. Game, of course, next Thursday in Morgantown. Here's a picture. Oregon always has these very bright, like almost like, I don't know how to explain it, but usually they just jump out at you, their uniforms. This is a uniform that they're unveiling for their game this weekend against Arizona. It's kind of, there's that matte black helmet. There's almost like he's gotten hit with tar with the uniform, and there is Arizona. That's the Oregon, excuse me. That's the uniform they will have against Arizona. Normally they're really like bright and electric and whatever.
Yes and no. I mean, they've definitely worn darker colors plenty of times. I think maybe you just think of the bright yellow and the bright green, but they've definitely worn black and like anthracite and, colors like that on plenty of occasions. So I think that fits in, pretty nicely with what they've worn before, and is not really all that much of a departure. The spray paint kind of look is different, or tar, as you put it. That is kind of what it looks like. That looks cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how big of a uniforms are compared to just a few years ago. I mean, we still see the uniform tweets, and there's still variations that come out, but it's certainly not what it was like, I don't know, probably 10 years ago when it seemed like uniforms were the deal, man. And, what is Oregon going to throw out there? What is Baylor going to throw out there? Well, it's been a long time since uniforms were really a big deal for Baylor in that regard. Oregon's kept up, being kind of an innovator there, and there's been others that have had really cool stuff, but yeah, that's just another chapter in Oregon uniform history, and there's been many of those, and those look pretty nice. But, yeah, definitely seen them roll the darker colors, and I actually prefer that to the green and yellow shades I've seen from them quite often.
Jim Weber, who's a national writer, what is this cookies and cream uniform? The way that it looks, it's more of a speckled, I think, is one of the terms I saw somebody use in performing or in at least explaining what he saw with those uniforms. All right, let's go back to the chat room. We're going to take a break here in a moment. We'll have Matt Tait, who covers Kansas. We've already had him on a couple of different times. We're going to have him because of all of what's building up in Lawrence for that game with TCU and game day. Matt will join us today. Max Olson today at 4, Mickey at 4:25, off the radar. And then Jeff Howe on Texas and the discussion about the quarterbacks in Texas OU a little bit after 5 o'clock. Bradley, Rock Chalk, Patrick Cheney, Craig, I like the hat. It's a 365 Sports hat. You can go to bearskins.com and look for some of what we have with product when it comes to hats that we have for 365 Sports. Daryl, that's already been read. Bounce House, Bradley Bramer, of course, that's the one from UCF yesterday. Talking AAC, very good. That's from Jack. Yes, we did. Does SMU have any players left? Not sitting out. They really didn't lose a lot.
They didn't lose their big players.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why that story popped up, and we didn't spend a lot of time on it because it was pretty quickly figured out that, okay, this isn't Rice, this isn't Mordecai, this isn't those types of guys. These were guys who, made sense 4 games into the year. You want to save a season. Kind of like Baylor with Josh Fleeks. It's like if somebody was going to transfer, he'd be probably near the top of my list. So I'm sure that was that way for these guys. I think it's the fact that it's multiple players was probably a little bit surprising. And maybe there's more to it that I need to dig in further. But on the surface, that didn't seem like anything other than just the typical kind of departure you would expect. Not anything alarming for Rhett Lashley just yet, although that loss last night was alarming, that second half especially. That was, a really good win for UCF. I think people kind of perk up and pay attention to them a little bit more now after that win, and rightfully so. I've been kind of waiting for the reason to kind of invest a little bit more. And last night I wasn't expecting them to win in blowout fashion, which they ultimately did. So yeah, I definitely will be paying closer attention. And great for Malzahn, but for SMU, yeah, they got to turn around and look in the mirror a bit. It was not the most impressive showing there in the latter half of that game.
Phil Venzer, be a rebel. Not Ole Miss, but UNLV. Jeffrey Thompson, I'll contribute $100 to the Jimbo buyout. That brings it down to $89,999,900. From K. Hustle, sports preacher, TCU 40, Kansas 30. Also, Tide Guy, I'll contribute $200 to Jimbo's extension. Jesus Pinto, 54-14 TCU. Steve Sexton, going to be a crazy game day atmosphere. From Carl, 42-34 TCU. Bob Kramer, Tide Guy. And then Scotty B, 52-49 TCU. Steve, 39-24. Most everybody, at least on the chat room, picking TCU in this game.
Yeah, I could see that. I definitely could see a blowout in this game. I mean, Kansas, I respect what they've done. I think Jalen Daniels is great. They can put up points. They put up all of 14 last week. Put up 14 points. They won 14-11 last week. So I'm not super high on them going into this game. I think it's great. There's a sellout. I'm sure there will be a home field advantage, but I don't know. I don't know what to expect just quite yet. I don't have my pulse. I'll pick the game tomorrow, obviously, at some point, but I'm leaning TCU going into this one, and I might be a little high off the fumes of what we just saw them do against Oklahoma, and I don't know how good Oklahoma is really. Now we've seen them get smacked around twice in a row. But
I got it. It's my fault. Go ahead.
But yeah, I don't know how good Oklahoma is either. But TCU is riding in on a pretty good feeling right now. I think Max Duggan is playing some good football. They've got a lot of weapons, and Kansas, for as much as they might have some athletes themselves, I mean, they're still kind of in a growing phase in that regard. Whereas TCU is filled with athletes when Sonny Dykes arrived. I mean, he didn't come in and transfer portal that roster. That's all guys that were there. Like all of them were there when he got there. So they've been in place. They know the drill. And, I'm leaning TCU right now, but maybe that changes in the next 24 hours. Right now I am, though.
My feeling from 14-11, no matter what happens this weekend, to me for Kansas, is they had been winning because everyone was talking about their offense. They've learned how to win. Now, how many more times they'll have that feeling the rest of the year, I don't know. But they won an ugly game. And I think you have to win different type of games. Maybe a game that's a slugfest, maybe a game that's a up-and-down track meet. They won a game when their offense did not play well, which I don't know how many people thought they were going to win many games no matter what, but they won a game when the offense was not very productive. Daniels threw for 93 yards, but no picks, no touchdowns. He didn't hurt them. They didn't rush for a lot of yards, but they won the game. In fact, they just had, 213 yards of total offense in that game.
I mean, I agree with you, but at the same time, for a team that's known for offense, they had 213 total yards.
That's what I just said.
Yeah. So, you're right. They found a way, but they found a way because Iowa State missed 3 field goals, and they lost by 3. They found a way because...
Well, they would have found a way to lose that game in the past.
Sure, yeah, I know I agree with you. I know what you're saying, but I'm not looking at it as like an optimistic view. You are, that's fine. I'm just looking at it as good for them. They eked one out, but I am a bit concerned in terms of... Last week, that was great. You did what you had to do. If the offense struggles again, I don't know that TCU is going to go miss 3 field goals, and I don't know that they're going to throw interceptions deep in the red zone like Hunter Deckers did. If they do, then Kansas can probably afford to score 14 points and maybe win the game again. All I'm saying is I don't think that they can score 14 points and win again. That's good for them. They got that.
TCU, no, or again,
and that's all I'm saying is that, they eked one out. That was great, but I wasn't impressed that they won the game. I was more... quite frankly, not impressed with Kansas. I was poo-pooing on Iowa State of just how badly they muffed that game. But
we heard how impressed we were that Baylor beat Iowa State, and it was in Ames. I get that. They held Kansas held Iowa State to 64 yards on the ground. Now, Iowa State's not running the ball very well. So it's to each his own. It's a beauty pageant. People look at it differently. My whole point is Kansas found a way to win, and your point is that you don't think they can do that again like that and win, and that's probably true as well as they move on for the rest of the year.
I'm not saying that they can't do it. I'm just saying it's really unlikely that they're going to score 14 points and beat TCU, and TCU is going to miss 3 of 4 field goal attempts and throw. I mean, look, if they do that, then Kansas has a formula that's fantastic that they've stumbled on. I just don't think that that's sustainable. That's my point, and that's why I lean TCU in the game this weekend.
I haven't made my pick, and I'm not so sure. Probably if I had to pick right now, the TCU explosiveness on offense, maybe that's going to be a 45-40 shootout, and KU gets things back together again. But they did also shut down Iowa State, despite the fact Iowa State just could not convert some opportunities when it comes to field goals. A couple more things from the chat room today. Carl Page, KU defense can't contain TCU, which is what Craig was just discussing. Tide Guy, I'm for Kansas, and the upsets continue 35-31. Clint Moses, no Paul. Fireworks between the Smokes. Paul's out working on some things at the house. Things that he has to get fixed at the house. He'll be back with us tomorrow. Steve, Texas beat down at the showdown.
Do you know what else happened in that Iowa State-Kansas game?
No.
Jarrell Brock had 1 carry, and he got hurt, and he didn't play the rest of the way, and Iowa State ended up with 26 rushing yards. Do you think TCU is going to run for 26 rushing yards?
Every game is different, but most likely not, because they have crazy good speed, track speed, and that's what Sonny Dykes, of course, will take advantage of that. Also, Willie, who do you think will have the higher TV rating, OU, Texas, or Kansas, TCU? I think Texas, OU. Kansas, OU, I think, is FS1. And I believe is Texas OU on Fox.
No, it's always on ABC.
ABC, it's a much bigger network. But even if they were on the same, like 2 different networks, I would think, no question, Texas OU will get the bigger audience. Now, which game's more important? It depends on who you ask. To me, if you're watching the game that matters, you're talking about 2 teams at the top. Like I said, Oklahoma, Texas, the losers in a free fall. The winner gets a little bit of a spark, perhaps, for the rest of the year.
I think it's very clear that OU Texas will probably have the bigger audience. They have by far the bigger fan bases. I mean, we're not just talking about Kansas, TCU. I mean, TCU does not have a large fan base. Kansas has a large fan base, particularly in basketball. With football, I'm sure they'll get good numbers, but are they going to get combined even what one side of Oklahoma, Texas has? Probably not. I mean, if we're being realistic. But this is part of why I don't enjoy the TV ratings comparisons that have cropped up like this year, because I don't really remember them too many times prior to this. I know that there's been folks that flash the TV ratings, and I brought them up and off the radar, like, hey, it's cool, this game got 3 million, this game got 4 million. But as I said, prefacing all that, I'm not doing it to say, like, SEC 2, ACC 0 in the ratings. It's like, I don't want to make that thing a competition, because I just don't want to go insane. I love college football, and I don't want to break it down to like everything's a competition in comparison, even TV ratings. But I understand why they're valuable. But yeah, like part of the reason why I don't want to dive into that is because it's likely that OU Texas will have far more viewers. Is that going to be the better game necessarily, or is that the 2 best teams compared to the other game? No, but they just have bigger fan bases than they have for much longer. So it's not even about who's better. It's about just who has bigger audiences. And if that means better to you, then by all means. But I certainly think the better game on paper is TCU versus Kansas, but that doesn't necessarily translate to alumni.
Ask Texas and Oklahoma if they'd trade a loss to have less people watching them. And they would. They would absolutely give up a loss if that means less people watched them for 1 week. At least you think that way. Now, Jerry Jones might disagree with you on that. Jeff in Mexico, last night he sent me this. Love the show. I wanted to call in yesterday because I thought of something no one is talking about. And, Jeff, we'll have to ask Mac Rhodes this or someone at some point. If playoffs go to 12 in 2024, that means first round of the playoffs will be the week of the early signing period for high school athletics, high school athletes. How are coaches going to juggle practices for the important first round of the playoffs and recruit at the same time? Won't that be difficult for coaches to focus on getting in contact, visiting important recruits while holding practices to win an important game? Who would love to get your take on that? P.S. This is Jeff. P.S. This is Jeff in Mexico City. Jeff, thanks for the tweet. Appreciate that, the direct message. I don't know the timeline. I tell you what I'll do. We might get Mac Rhodes back on, I think, next week on Tuesday. If we haven't got an answer from somebody else between now and then I'll make sure we ask him that question on Tuesday when Mac joins us. All right, this is 365 Sports. Matt Tait covers Kansas, is around the corner. We have a lot to get to today. A lot of you on the text line, the chat room. Thank you very much. 365 Sports. And coming up, again, Craig Smoak and David Smoak. Paul Catalina back with us tomorrow, and we appreciate your time. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza. In fact, we order a lot. We order pizzas here to where we are in the studio. I've ordered Marco's as well where I live. And Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com, has so many different things that you can order based on some promotions. For example, $3 off the large pepperoni magnifico. Order online and use PepMag3 as your code. Large one-topping pizza, $8.99 a piece. Use the code 899 to go. $3 off large specialty pizzas. This is a specialty pizza with what you want on it. It could have vegetables or more. All pizza special in their occasion, of course, but you can get online and order special 3, Marcos.com. Unlimited medium one-topping pizza, $7.99 each. Order now online, $7.99. They have the cauliflower crust now that's, of course, hot. They have pizza bowls. They have wings. They have sandwiches and soft drinks. Marcos.com with 5 locations in Central Texas around Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, Hewitt, and Robinson. Marcos Pizza. Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
During Jeep Adventure Days, Allen Samuels in Waco is celebrating with an incredible lineup of 2022 models like the Grand Cherokee L, Renegade, Wrangler, and the Wrangler 4xe. These vehicles bring power to plow through any obstacles or the smooth, peaceful ride you'd expect from a Jeep. Jeep SUVs are also known for their design and technology. The Grand Cherokee L even brings you extended seating with a 3rd row. Come see what Allen Samuels can offer you and your family and find the Jeep SUV that fits your lifestyle.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texans are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
It's football and tailgate season. If you want product for the grill or smoker, charcoal, seasonings, marinades, sauces, Waco Custom Marketplace is your home to help prep, cook, and enjoy your food. Tailgate must-like brisket, tri-tip, fresh-made burgers, sausage, chicken wings, and if you want steaks, call in your order and pick them up. Bacon wrap fillets or any kind of ribeyes. USDA Select Choice and Prime that melt in your mouth. House-made sausage and jerky. Also, Waco Custom Marketplace, a one-stop shop for tailgating, barbecue cook-offs, and family get-togethers, fundraisers with fair prices to you, the customer. A bakery with fresh baked bread and kolaches. There's cold beer, wine, and soft drinks. Serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. A cut above the rest. Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Joel on the text line, 254-339-1122. UCF showed something last night that I had not yet seen all year. It really opened the offense up wide open, and that is making a couple of simple pass plays. Please, a lot of yards, getting yards after the catch with some good playmakers, and the defense is better than it's been in 6 or 7 years at least. From Joel, Space Coast Knight on the text line to us. Joel, thanks for your time. Nice win, as we mentioned, on last night on a Wednesday night for UCF. It was a Wednesday night game against SMU. Marshall Burns on the text line just threw out a prediction, Kansas 32, TCU 24. A lot of you are interested. And we do appreciate the feedback on that. Anything else from you, Craig, before we take another break, come back with Matt Tait?
Yeah, on UCF, like that's kind of what I said a little while ago as far as, it's good to see a guy like a Ryan O'Keefe get a big game in there. He was by far not the only, Knight that had a big night on offense, but somebody who's, tracking him on a weekly basis because he's a Texas guy. And was it Jalen Robinson prior to that was, who I was paying attention to a lot for UCF. And, of course, he transferred this offseason, so that was kind of a bummer. But good to see O'Keefe ball out. Good to see them, like you said, open it up offensively. And I've been seeing a lot of those rumblings about how well the defense, has played and how they've looked. So if you can get that offense up and running and John Rice Plumlee can, be a, field general for you, then, maybe they're on to something. Certainly it's been quiet. And I think, we've had UCF people ask, like, maybe why haven't you talked more? It's just like there wasn't really a whole lot to, like, really glom onto. Is like they're still trying to figure themselves out a bit. I think last night was a statement for them and was a game that, could propel them moving forward. And I think definitely creates a bit more conversation around them if they can play complementary football the way that they did. So I think that was a really nice win for them, like we said a few minutes ago, and definitely one to be happy about. Still a long way to go, and we don't know how good really SMU is, but that's been a good win in the past. I think that's still going to be a good win when all is said and done, but they definitely need to look back in the mirror a little bit as well, the Ponies up in Dallas.
UCLA Temple at home next week, and then East Carolina on the road. They come back in 3 weeks. They have the game with Cincinnati, which will be interesting. Cincinnati right now inside the top 25.
Yeah, that'll be tough. Got to keep grinding and got to keep sharpening those edges. But there's something to hang your hat on. It's something, an identity that's forming there with UCF. Now, as far as the TCU and Kansas predictions, look, I want to make it very clear because of the back and forth. I think Kansas is a good team. I'm very happy that they're hosting College GameDay. I think they can win the game this weekend. But coming off of what they're coming off of, Jarrell Brock got hurt basically right away, and Iowa State had absolutely no running game whatsoever. What does Iowa State do pretty well? They run the football, and they could not run the football to save their life. Now, Kansas deserves credit for that, but that is not going to be the case with Max Duggan and those running backs, Kendry Miller and DeMercado, and much less who else they want to throw out there. Same thing. Xavier Hutchinson's a great player, but I don't know that he is Quentin Johnston and company as far as receiving threat goes. So I think Kansas has more than a puncher's chance. I think Jalen Daniels is super explosive, but like when that's been your bread and butter and you scored 14 points last week, and on the other side, you played well defensively, but there was also some factors in there. I'm not super high on them going into this game as far as KU is going to keep the good times going and they're going to stay unbeaten. I'm just not there right now, but I'm not denying that they could win this game.
That.
Yeah. I just want to make it clear so I don't sound like I'm poo-pooing on the Jayhawks like they're not any good.
By the way, if Kansas does win, they're the first Big 12 team bowl eligible.
Yeah.
How about that? It is a great story. Does it continue to be great? I don't know. But I'm of the opinion, again, you can win as long as you win the game. But sometimes if you win ugly, that can come back to get you. And I was blown away watching what TCU did to Oklahoma and made them like it. They were magnificent in that win at home against the Sooners. All right, when we come back, he's up there in Lawrence covering game day and all the festivities leading up to it in the game itself. Matt Tait on KU and Game Day and TCU in the Big 12 next on 365 Sports and also Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now over at Richard Carr. They are the people that you can count on for not only a great deal, but also life of your car, the service of your car, and just great customer service as well. I've had my car over at Richard Car, even though I didn't buy it there originally, and they've helped me out just like I had bought a car off their lot years ago. But right now you can find big savings on pre-owned cars, but perhaps most importantly for people that have been waiting for a while, they've got new cars and trucks that are in stock and on the lot. Yes, there's still, supply chain issues and things like that creating havoc at dealerships all over the country, creating delays. But now your time to jump on some great offers, some great deals, and some great new vehicles as they arrive. 2022 GMC Sierras have hit the lot, and they're waiting for you to test drive today. They offer best-in-class towing, strong steel bed, multi-pro tailgate, advanced collision avoidance, and a luxurious interior that includes massive touchscreens, 14 camera views, and premium comfort. They also have trucks waiting for you to test drive now, so get to the dealership and tell them what you're looking for, and they will try to make it as smooth of a journey as possible. If they don't have exactly what you're looking for, as I said, get on that inbound vehicle list. They'll basically cut you in line for trucks that are in production but not quite in stock, or they'll help you design the exact truck or SUV you want and, again, have GMC prioritize it for you. So for 23 years in Central Texas, there's been no better place to go to. Richard Carr has built a reputation as the people you can count on for your automotive needs, run by proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Make a winning drive to Genco and refinance your vehicle. Every loan can skip monthly payments for 90 days with rates as low as 3.75% APR for 48 months. Right now is the time to make a play. At Genco, we save you money by helping you pay less for your car. Every loan scores no payments for 90 days. Then have a chance to win 3 more months of no payments. Apply online today for an additional discount of 0.15% off our already low rates, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org. Member NCUA.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Coming up at 4 o'clock, Max Olson, theathletic.com. Right now in Lawrence, Matt Tait, part of the Lawrence Journal World, and also at KU Sports, joins us on 365 Sports, Craig Smoak and David Smoak. Matt, what's it like, the atmosphere and just the excitement, the energy right now in Lawrence leading up to this weekend?
Well, yeah, it's obviously growing by the week right now, you know. It's been big the last 2 weeks, but obviously with game day here, it's crazy, man. I mean, you know, they get excited when game day comes for basketball, but they're also kind of used to that. It's like, yeah, it's cold, it's the winter, you know, let's get out, get bundled up, walk up there, you know, maybe sit through it, enjoy it a little bit, get loud, get on TV. But this is like, it's beautiful weather. It's a first of its kind type of thing. And obviously they're buzzing over the football team start too. So I think the scene that you will see on TV on Saturday, I was up on the hill outside of the stadium yesterday as game day was trying to set up their stage and their set and all that. I think the scene you will see on that television show will be unbelievable. I mean, I think it's a perfect setting for this. I think, you know, a lot of them, you've seen it, you know, and a lot of them look, they're right outside of the stadium or whatever, but there's just something cool about KU with that hill, and they can just pack people all the way up that thing, and the depth of how that will look on television with the big bell tower behind them. I think it's going to look pretty incredible. And, you know, I'm not trying to say it'll be the best ever or anything crazy like that, but I think the casual college football fan that looks around and flips the channel on and sees that will probably go, wow, I didn't know Kansas had that. I thought they sucked, you know? So that'll be really good for the program, obviously.
Matt, given that for a long time, I mean, you know, I guess you put it bluntly but correctly, like Kansas sucked in football for a while, and now here they are, and they're like a national darling on the rise, you know, could be bowl eligible with a win this weekend, which is pretty crazy for the first time in a few years. Hosting College GameDay. Lance Leipold's obviously on the tip of the tongue of everybody talking college football right now. Have you kind of had to pinch yourself? Is everybody properly living in the moment, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, it's funny how fast it happens in terms of something like this becoming something that's almost expected and a reality. And you know, that as much as they're still buzzing over it, I think people will wake up and think, yeah, we're good. This is how it is, you know, and that's certainly not how it's been at all. And, you know, I don't want to say that it could disappear as quickly as it came. I didn't think it could come this quickly, to be honest. But, you know, I would say if there's one thing that Kansas football fans have learned in this last crazy stretch of, you know, 12, 13 years, it's that you don't take anything for granted when it comes to your football program. And so I think because of that, people are probably enjoying it a little bit more, knowing we just don't know how long this is going to last or when it'll be back or if it'll ever be back, you know, because that was the reality they lived for a number of years. So I think part of that mentality is probably feeding the monster right now. And everybody's really just living in the moment and enjoying every single possible thing that they can enjoy about this run. And, you know, look, I think it continues past this weekend too. I mean, they'll go onto the road for 2 games after this. One of them's down there in Waco, and then they have a bye week the last weekend of October, and so they're not home again until November 5th. But you know what? No matter what happens in those games at OU and at Baylor, I think the fans will be fired up to pack it again on November 5th. I think they're just really enjoying it, and they don't want to take it for granted, and they don't want it to go away, which is weird because usually they're counting down to basketball and can't see it go away fast enough.
It's wild. It's crazy that we're talking about it, but very cool at the same time. And we are because, they've won 5 games to start the season, but particularly winning last week, they had to do that. And then TCU gets the big win as well, 14-11 on the, against, Iowa State. It's always a tough sledding, but to win 14-11, to get shut out in the second half, like how did that unfold? And what were your thoughts coming out of this game in terms of how you viewed the Jayhawks versus prior to them facing the Cyclones, because it wasn't quite the offensive explosion that we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, you nailed it, and that's what I was going to say. I think I picked 35-34 Kansas, and that was largely because I thought they could score 5 or 6 touchdowns and keep rolling on offense, and they didn't. I mean, they got up 14-0, and it kind of looked like that was happening, and then whether it was an adjustment by Iowa State or multiple adjustments or whatever it was, it shut down quickly. And KU got pretty conservative too. Leipold talked after the game that was kind of by design, kind of out of respecting Iowa State and trying not to do too many cute things and making sure they tried to preserve that lead. But it got hot under the collar for everybody. All the fans were definitely freaking out. If you'd have watched KU Twitter during that second half, you'd have thought that this team was 0-5 again, because these people were full of venom and ripping the play calls and ripping the coaches. And I mean, it's like how quickly we forget, So I think that was a bit of a surprise that the offense was held in check. But from a KU perspective, it was probably the best thing that could have happened to them, because it gave their defense an opportunity to win a game. They got some help from 3 missed field goals, but at the end of the day, they only gave up 11 points, and they can walk away saying, yeah, we did that. That was a defensive win. And I think they've been waiting for that. They've been wanting to see that if they could do that, and now they did. And so as confident as the offense is, I think they'll snap back into confident mode, no problem. But the defense now carries a little bit of confidence on its side of the ball, and it'll be interesting to see how much that helps and what that can do for the team as a whole, because if you can get both of those units clicking together, this could be a pretty tough team to beat, really, for anybody. So, it's still a little bit surreal. It's still, even though it's 5-0 and you have to believe that they're a good football team, there's still that part of your brain that makes you, face the reality of, well, how good are they? And I think one of the ways to explain the answer to that is really the fact that they're 5-0 and they've beat some good teams and they've got some good wins, but they really have a lot of room to improve still. I mean, they haven't been perfect by any means. And so they've had some really sound play in some really important areas. The offensive line's been really good. And obviously Jalen Daniels has been really good at quarterback too. So, the 2 of the most important areas have been really good, and there's probably not a ton of room to improve at those spots, but team-wise, across the board, they can get better in a lot of areas. And if they do, then how much better does that make them? And what's the ceiling then? So it's weird to be asking those questions and looking at those things midway through a season. But, here we are. And all of a sudden this weekend's a really big game against a really good TCU team.
Matt, I mentioned this earlier, and yeah, they can't slop it around like that, but they found a way to win. It used to be where they couldn't even do that. They would have lost 14-11 or whatever would have happened. How important was, you mentioned the defense was able to win a game and Iowa State had their opportunities. How important was it they won an ugly game, but won the game?
Oh, I think that's, it gives them room to breathe. I think they realize then that there's a little bit of that vibe of, okay, we can not play our best and still find a way. And maybe we're just clutch or maybe we're just gamers or, maybe we play poorly for 3 quarters, but when the game's on the line, we make a play. And they did a lot of that against Iowa State. I mean, Iowa State is having their own struggles this year, but there were a couple of really big plays in that game. None bigger than Kenny Logan, KU's, all-conference safety, putting a big hit on their wide receiver, Xavier Hutchinson, in the end zone. I mean, the ball's in his hands, and Kenny had to come from the middle of the field over to the boundary, and he's got a touchdown if he can just hold on to it. And Kenny gave him a big time shot and knocked the ball out and forced him to try the field goal. And I can't remember if they missed or made that one, but either way, it saved a touchdown. And so, there's little things like that happening throughout the roster that I think are starting to make these guys believe that like I said, they're gamers, and whether it's automatic or not, whether it's timely or not, it really doesn't matter. They believe they can show up and make a play on any snap, and a play that can flip the game. And that's really, as much as it takes players and the proper mindset to have that. For me, that's really a reflection of how good the coaching's been, because they've got these guys believing that, and also understanding and emphasizing how it doesn't matter where you are on the field, and it doesn't matter if it's the first quarter or the fourth quarter. You got to do your job, and you got to make your play. And you have to assume that the play you're making on that particular snap is going to be the one that wins the game. And, that could be a backside block. That could be, blocking down the field, whatever it is. It really has resonated with these guys, and they believe that, I'm an important part of this on this play, and I'm going to be an important part on the next play and the play after that, and so on down the line. So to me, that's really a reflection of really good coaching. But also the players deserve a lot of credit for that too.
Matt, I saw where AD Travis Goff was on Sirius, and he had said that they were going to have a big announcement coming up tomorrow about their commitment to football and building for the long haul. And I think there was also some at some point it was mentioned there's renovations to Allen Fieldhouse as well that are upcoming. But not asking you to play spoiler, even if you know exactly the details, but any kind of a hint of what they're kind of planning on putting out there into the public here in the next day or so.
Well, the two biggest things right now are any kind of stadium talk and plans for renovations in the future there. And then, of course, trying to find a way to get Lance Leipold to basically sign a lifetime deal or whatever the heck they can convince him to do. So, those are the two biggest things. If I'm guessing and, as I'm kind of preparing to go into tomorrow or whenever it comes, I'm leaning more towards something stadium related. Everything that I'm hearing on Lance is that, he's obviously very happy here, and I think they want him here long term. But I don't know that happens mid-season. I don't know that he's wired that way. I think he's more of a let everything play out, and we'll talk business when it's time to talk business. Right now it's time to talk football. And so if it's my guess, I'm guessing it's something stadium related. I don't think it'll be the full-blown Northwestern or Texas Tech announcement like we've seen in recent weeks. But I still think anything they can announce that sounds good and shows a commitment and gets the fans excited is going to be good news across the board. And so, whether it's the smallest announcement or the biggest, I think people will be fired up. And I think it'll be pretty significant. If he's on there teasing it, Travis Goff's a pretty smart guy. I don't think he's going to just talk about these things as if he's just, going to bring in maybe 10 new concession stands or something. I mean, it's going to be way bigger than that. So my guess is it's stadium related.
Matt, we have about a minute here if you don't mind, but with game day, I know they come in, they start setting up. There's an area, people know where they're going to be. Are people kind of like magnets to that area? Are they interested? Because they haven't seen this for football.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so they pulled in today, the bus, the game day bus pulled in today about 2:00, and KU invited all the students, and they put in parentheses, if you don't have class, which was probably a wasted effort there. But, they wanted people to greet that bus and be there from minute one. And they were, and I didn't make it up there, but I saw a bunch of, pictures and videos and stuff like that on social media. And obviously people were there to greet the bus. And so they're really making KU look good right now. And they should be. I mean, this is a good football team. It's a ranked team. The university as a whole has a lot of good things happening right now. And obviously just won a title in basketball too. So the vibe here is really, really, really good. It's as high as I've ever seen it. And that's saying a lot because they had some pretty good years way back when. But yeah, there's no question that the magnet's a good word for it. I've heard talk of students trying to camp out on the hill there. Friday night, so they're ready, and kickoff's 11 a.m. So, the crazy thing for them is, and this is where I'm really glad that I'm 44 years old instead of 20. They're talking about camping out, and I think the overnight low is going to be in the 30s for the first time.
Woo!
So
I'm too old
I wish
for
them
that.
all the luck.
Yeah.
And exactly, you and me both. And the one thing they'll probably have going in their favor is a little bit of that liquid heater that can probably keep them warm through the night. So hopefully nobody puts themselves in any danger or any trouble up there. But I'm assuming there'll be a bunch of people having some fun up there, and whether they camp out or get there real early or whatever it is, it's going to be packed, and it's going to be a really good atmosphere.
Enjoy it, Matt. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Matt Tait, Lawrence World Journal, with us on KU, has joined us many times on KU basketball. And now with what KU's doing, hosting TCU, hosting game day, they roll into town. We've seen it at of course, McLean Stadium a few times. We're not going to break here. We're going to go straight to Max Olson here from theathletic.com in a second. You want to follow up on what Matt was talking about? Anything else?
No, I mean, I think it's cool. And he touched on your point about the defense winning a game and, creating a further identity for themselves. And I'm all on board with that. I mean, I think it was a good win. A win is a win is a win. If you got to win, that's all that really matters in the end. So I'm looking at it from my typical standpoint, which is probably a bit more just pessimistic or whatever you want to call it. That's fine, but it is, how I view it. And so, yeah, at 14-11, be happy with the win, but I saw some flaws that make me go, against TCU, I'm not sure, but it should be a great game. It is of interest that their running back, Daniel Hishaw's hurt. We didn't get to talk to him about that. So there's a contributor that will be out apparently. So that's notable, but to what extent, I don't think it cost them the TCU game. We'll see, though.
All right, Max Olson, theathletic.com, every Thursday at 4, joins us on 365 Sports. Max, we just had Matt Tait on up in Lawrence, and what a weekend it is. And KU hopes it's even a better weekend, but how about game day finally getting to Lawrence to recognize what KU's doing, and even TCU as well?
How about it? How about me finally getting to a football game in Lawrence, Kansas? I've not, ESPN never sent me to ever cover one there in my time there because I was based down in Texas. So this is and then I moved up north, but then the pandemic hits. This is the first for me to go to a Kansas football game, and I'm sure you guys have been to some when Baylor's been there, right?
Yeah, I've been there a couple of different times.
Different environments this weekend than the ones you've been to, I'm guessing.
A little bit different. Yeah, the other one looked like it was in the middle of a pandemic because, again, the crowd was sparse. But good for them, man. Good for KU.
Incredible. Yeah, they're the story of the season, I think, in college football. And just really special. I'm sure you guys talked about it with Matt, but I'm just continue to be impressed every week. And, what kind of odds do you think we could have gotten this summer if I told you Kansas will be the first Big 12 team to clinch a bowl game if they win this weekend?
Yeah, we mentioned that a few minutes ago. Probably got it off of your timeline or somebody else's. But
how about the first Big 12 game day will be not only Kansas, but Kansas TCU of all teams. There's not even a Texas or Oklahoma. It's Kansas TCU. It's crazy.
We were joking on the podcast we taped today, that game was definitely going to be on ESPN Plus at the start of the season, right?
Oh, yeah.
No question.
I asked at the beginning of the game, was if you were to sit down and draft the Big 12 schedule, where does TCU Kansas eventually get picked? Prior to the year? Later part of the top 50? I don't even know where it would have come in. Right. But, yeah, now here it is. It's College GameDay, so it's an incredible turn of events.
Yeah, it's really – well, okay, let's think about that. There's, 8 times 9 or 9 times 9? Yeah, it's not in the top 50, right?
No, it's maybe 80, 81 or 75 or whatever. Yeah.
My math there is horrible. I think it's 45 or but yeah, no. It's going to be cool to see. And you just what a great weekend of games in the conference.
Max, on the TC, or I guess Kansas got the win over Iowa State, got some breaks, but as Smokey pointed out and Matt pointed out, they had to win a game with their defense for once. So maybe in the way that it was a struggle, it was a great thing for them that they had to win a little bit differently when the offense wasn't just, popping 40 burgers left and right. On the TCU side of things, I mean, did you see that coming with Oklahoma and Sonny Dykes and company already being this much in stride?
No, guys, I was the dude who 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago saw Oklahoma up in Lincoln and was like, man, Oklahoma looks for real. I mean, what a sucker I am. I just these first two Big 12 games was just what an unbelievable start. Like, and the thing is, like, if Dylan Gabriel hadn't been knocked out of that game, TCU still would have won. Like, TCU just dominated them. And I mean, obviously so impressed by what Sonny Dykes has done there, what Garrett Riley's doing with that offense. And it's an experienced offense. I mean, when you watch them play, like, it's not surprising that Quentin Johnson and Tay Barber and Darius Davis and even Kendre Miller, who had some good moments last season, like, it's not surprising that these guys have a ton of speed and potential. But to see Max Duggan, just like Jalen Daniels, really put it all together and play just his absolute best football has been such a treat. And just couldn't believe just how efficient and effective TCU was. But obviously, a big part of that is also Oklahoma just being a mess on defense. Can you see OU rallying the troops with, we don't know the status of Gabriel, and they just look, and I know Venables' key thing is defense, but, man, they really, over the last several years, have truly struggled tackling in space, whatever. Can you see them? I know there's a rivalry, the emotions. Can they rally the troops this week? Yeah, I mean, you have to simplify, right? And I don't know just how you inject all that confidence back into your guys, in a matter of 7 days, and they just look totally different on defense. But this is Red River. I've seen it before. I mean, I remember covering the game in 2015 when I thought, Texas, I think, was 1-4, and I just assumed Oklahoma was going to murder them with, Baker Mayfield and Lincoln Riley and all that, and Texas finds a way to grind out a win. So yes, I feel like the years when I think Red River is just going to be a beatdown, it usually doesn't go that way. But the Oklahoma quarterback deal, it's just hard to get past. I mean, and you knew this was a problem if you looked at him on paper this offseason. That's why they brought in Davis Bevel from Pitt, who hasn't looked very good in the chances he's had. They don't have anyone behind Dylan Gabriel, and that was kind of, that's the tough thing with this team, especially after you lose Caleb Williams and Spencer Rattler, is just you don't have that depth. And so, worst case scenario here, if Gabriel is going to miss a game here, then offensively, you got to figure something else out, because this is just, you're not going to get the kind of quarterback play that we're used to seeing from Oklahoma.
Max, it looks like Quinn Ewers is headed back to the lineup after missing the past couple games due to injury. I think that Hudson Cards carried himself really well. UT, had a nice showing last week, really explosive. Does this make this game more enticing, or was it already kind of spicy enough, even if it was going to be the Hudson Card show?
Yeah, it definitely adds to it. It adds another variable here, because, Quinn Ewers, he looked ready for Alabama, but we only got to see one quarter from him. And he's been out since then. And I agree with you. I think Hudson Card has performed pretty admirably, considering he's been playing hurt as well. And I think they've done a good job, especially against West Virginia, of dialing stuff up that really kind of kept him comfortable and on their run game. So I think the Ewers part is going to be interesting. You wonder kind of how, is there a short leash there, in Sarkisian's eyes, when you feel like you kind of trust what Hudson Card's been doing lately. But, guys, obviously when you think back to last year, Texas played a pretty perfect first half and then totally blew it. I think the big thing for Texas this week is just, not only you can't take this one for granted just because OU's, a little beaten up here, but got to find a way to finish. That's just been the thing that these Texas teams under Sark just haven't done, and especially away from home. And this is a week when you've got to take the lessons of last year and be a lot better. Max Olson, theathletic.com, with us on Thursdays in the 4 o'clock hour. Max, don't ever please share the text back and forth between you and me Saturday evening, Saturday night watching. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I was in full panic mode, wasn't I? This guy was on tilt. I was.
I can believe it.
I was. Well, I mean, I still care about him. You don't. But we're talking about
that's not necessarily true. I know. No, it is. Yeah, this guy is Smokey can be a bit of a frustrated Husker watcher, which you only have you only have a decade or two of experience with that now, right? Yes, that's the worst part. Yeah, I at least enjoyed some good moments back in the day. Max Olson again. Are you setting aside your whole Friday night to watch Nebraska-Rutgers, by the way? I got a high school game. I'm not watching it. Okay, good. No, I'm not watching it. I'm not even going to put it on DVR. I was texting Max Craig and everyone else during the game against Indiana, and it was going down that pipe, down that rabbit hole again, but they found a way, and I was in full panic mode because I just want to enjoy a win. But that's enough. They don't deserve any more coverage, and too much already we've given them this year. I say that every week. I know. I do. Every week. I still enjoy it, though.
So how much do you see this Alabama A&M game up in Tuscaloosa? This was going to be about two guys that were mouthing off and whatever else, bitter, arguing, whatever. And now it's about, can A&M win a game? They had a couple of nice ranked wins, but then they get smoked by Mississippi State, and now here comes Alabama on the road.
Yeah, and that one has just kind of has blowout written all over it. Although obviously last year I don't think we were expecting A&M to pull up what they did against Bama, but it just feels different with this team. You're going to have to go with Haynes King this week, and I'm curious to see how much they would put Connor Wigman into action here when we haven't really seen him so far against this Alabama team. But yeah, it kind of, it's not a totally dissimilar conversation from Venables and his defense, but except that Jimbo Fisher, like as much as he needs to simplify and needs to figure out how to get these guys to play with some confidence again, Jimbo Fisher has recruited all the guys for this. You know what I mean? That's the difference. They've built this exactly how they wanted in recruiting, and it's not working. And so how they try to kind of figuring out an offense that can be competitive, it's going to be interesting to see this week. But A&M was just not very good in all three phases last week, and so yeah, you're not if you're Nagy, it's hard to have a ton of optimism about this one. But Alabama has had some moments this season when they've looked beatable. So I'm not saying that this is hopeless, but yeah, we're in a rough stretch here for Jimbo Fisher.
Max, we talked a little bit about OU Texas, and that's just a game I think we're all just kind of waiting to see how that goes, because it's obviously OU's in a bad place, and Texas is riding a little bit of momentum. Kansas TCU we touched on as well, and how exciting that is. But going back to last weekend, Oklahoma State walked into Waco and got themselves a nice win against Baylor. Certainly from the Baylor perspective, there's some things that different moments in that game go, well, that cost them and that cost them and that cost them. So they go into the bye week back to the drawing board. But for Oklahoma State, what did you see from them? What do you like from them right now, and kind of how do you see them in the full mix of the Big 12 at the moment?
Yeah, I'm curious for you guys, just on the eye test, did you feel like Oklahoma State's the best team in the conference?
No. But you know what, though? I don't know who I mean.
But you think that's TCU, or who do you think that is?
That's the problem. I don't know yet, but I don't feel. I guess I didn't walk away going.
If Spencer Sanders can play like that.
Yeah, like they can be, but I'm not convinced that they are. I guess
they're better on defense than I thought too, at least based on who they lost from last year's team.
They are. They've got some players that you saw stepped up, and I thought the fourth quarter was pretty important there for Derek Mason, his defense to get those takeaways, to get those stops, and not let that game kind of turn into a shootout the rest of the way. You're right, though. There's still kind of just that big if Spencer Sanders can be really good every week, then they're going to get to Arlington. I thought it was an impressive performance from Oklahoma State in one where you felt like you were going to find out a little bit more about them. And I think we did. I think they've, that's an offense that is, I think has good pieces. I think Spencer Sanders is showing his experience as a 4-year starter, and that's good. Are they, they're number 7, number 8 team in the country good right now? Still a little bit hard to tell. I think that, so I'm with you on that, but a good one for them, and probably a game that, as wild as this race is, probably a game that's going to still end up being pretty consequential in this Big 12 title race. And it's funny, I hadn't really thought about it up until today, but is Oklahoma out of the race if they lose this week? They are, right?
Yeah, with that, I would have to think so. Yeah.
Can a team that loses 3 Big 12 games get to Arlington this year? I mean, I guess that this would be a year where maybe that's possible, but it kind of feels that way that you still can't have that many.
Yeah.
That means you have no mulligans, and you still have 6 games left against a conference that right now looks like a lot of people are,
Right. You have to go get all the head-to-heads against Baylor and Oklahoma State and everybody else in Oklahoma. Yeah.
0-3. Wow. How about that after they ran the conference for a long, long time, with a couple of exceptions along the way? Craig, anything else for Max?
I off the top of my head, no, I thought you had a question coming up.
No. Okay, Max, I know you got to go, but we appreciate your time. The way that is it 3 elite teams? Clemson, of course, kind of reestablished who they were in the ACC, but is it, in your opinion, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and then a drop-off, at least from what it looks like right now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that USC is quite ready to they're still kind of putting it all together there. I think they're really talented. Obviously, I think that's probably one of those teams you feel like has a chance to be that number 4 spot. But yeah, no, I think that's probably a fair assessment. And that's not to say that. You saw Georgia really struggle for 4 quarters with Missouri. So I don't know that there's one team that's going to run away with all of this year. And it could make for some surprise playoff entries like we had last year with Cincinnati and Michigan. It's going to be right now. There's just not one team like Georgia last year where you just feel like, man, how do you even line up against these guys?
Craig, Max, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Max Olson Thursdays with us at 4:00 on 365 Sports. Y-Zone Super Chat for $10. Please put the Oklahoma State helmet back in place of the UCF one. Y-Zone, we love your passion for the Cowboys.
But why the UCF one? They just won last night.
Yeah, maybe replace another one. I don't have.
BYU one always makes its way up here. I know maybe it's because we have multiples. I don't know, but I always feel like I see that one.
Jack made the point. I think it was Jack the other day that made the point about sometimes when the fans have actually spent their money and their time to send us the bigger helmets and even the minis, then we're going to also highlight them. But yeah, we do rotate that along. Houston, of course, is out on there. They're struggling. Brigham Young, huge game against Arkansas next weekend, but they got They got Notre Dame coming up this week. And then sometimes you don't see the very end. There's the U.S. Army one as well, and then West Virginia on the right corner. But we kind of rotate them, and we appreciate all of the ones that have been sent to us.
Yeah, I mean, the Oklahoma State thing, like I get that. They definitely deserve to probably be up there. If they weren't, I don't pay much attention to it, honestly. So maybe they were up there the last 3 days for all we know, or for all I know. But, they deserve some love. But I'm seeing like a lot of Oklahoma State fans that want more and more love. And I get it, man. Like, that was a great win against Baylor. I think we've all said that at this point. But I don't know what else to really say about them until I see a little bit more. They were very solid. They dominated special teams. Spencer Sanders was very good with his feet and with his arm.
Yep.
He only had 1 turnover. Early on, he threw a couple balls that maybe last year's Baylor defense actually picks one of those off, and he has a couple of them, but he didn't this time, and they didn't, and it was all well and good. But I can't say that, like, I wasn't so impressed that I walked out of that game going like, yep, they're the team to beat. I didn't, and I did not feel that way, and I haven't felt that way since that game, and I've analyzed it and looked over it every way imaginable, and I'm still impressed with Oklahoma State. I'm just not in love with Oklahoma State. And I'm not all on board. I'm like, yeah, they're the team that you have to take down. I think it could very well be TCU for all we know. I think Baylor's still in the mix. I think Texas is still in the mix. I think there's a couple that K-State's still in the mix. Kansas obviously is in the mix until they're not. And then there's some that are starting to fall to the wayside, like in Oklahoma. Like after this weekend, if they lose, go ahead and toss them out. And that would have to be a bedlam win in Oklahoma State's favor, you would think, here in a couple of months, the way things are currently going. But, yeah, I like them a lot. I don't know what else to say other than I like them, Like, I just am not – I don't know what else to describe it as.
Well, because would you bet everything that they're going to win in Lubbock?
No.
Because we don't know. Because what it seems like is the case is I don't know if there's an elite team. And Oklahoma State, of course, coming off that really nice run, plus the bowl win against Notre Dame last year, and that dramatic ending against Baylor. They did come into Waco and beat the defending champions on their home turf, and they dictated pretty much almost everything start to finish with a couple of things here and there, but they were better. They were more physical. Spencer Sanders played under control, but now they go to Lubbock. I think that this conference has like almost – I don't know if there's anyone elite, but I do know this is I don't know of anyone that you could just say, okay, there's going to be a win. Kansas is no longer that team. And who is? Iowa State's in a free fall at 0-2. I mean, they may be out of it here pretty soon.
Yeah, I think that that's probably likely if they go to 0-3, which is kind of hard to imagine. But, I mean, that was just a brutal loss versus Kansas last week. I mean, that was really a massive missed opportunity, and I don't mean to take away the shine from KU's win. It's just that left me feeling more like, golly, Iowa State, really? But, yeah, they get Kansas State this weekend, so they might very well fall to 0-3.
Yeah, Kansas State, and then they play at Texas. So
the point being was that I I want to give Oklahoma State love. I think they deserve love, but like I'm also reserving the right to save some of that for later on in the year when I feel more confident in giving them all that love, not just because they just beat Baylor. It was an impressive win. Yep. It was a good win. They were the better team. I also see Baylor on a regular basis, so I see them and I see their faults and I see like where they missed opportunities, and I go like, yes, Oklahoma State deserves credit, but I also think this was Baylor doing this, you know what I mean? And so I look at it that way in some cases, but they deserved to win that game last week, and I'm very curious to see how they play out the rest of the way. I don't know if this is going to be a shootout against Texas Tech this weekend, but it sure seems like it's built for that. But I tell you what, Donovan Smith might throw 3 picks and fumble twice and cost the Red Raiders the game.
And throw for 400 yards, yeah.
Or he might have 6 touchdowns total and end up beating you late in the games. I mean, we don't know which version we'll get, but certainly with Spencer Sanders and Donovan Smith, you have the makings of a great quarterback battle that could be really great or really kind of awful because they both had similar highs and lows in terms of big turnovers or big scoring games. So I'm curious of which version of those two guys we get and just what this game turns out to be like because Tech's been through it, man. They've been through a tough early part of the schedule, and Oklahoma State got their first big test last week, so I'm curious to see how they turn right around and follow that up because that Baylor game obviously meant a little something. It's like BYU. Like that meant a little something. That was a little chip on the shoulder for Oklahoma State. Can they get us up and play us solid against a team where they don't really have that going into this game? If they can, then, hey, I'll be even higher on them. But right now, I don't know who the best team in the Big 12 is.
I think next week on Monday we could be sitting there talking about 4 new teams that might be the better teams in the conference based on this weekend. That's what's kind of fun.
They're good, though. I'm not trying to take away any credit. I just don't know yet how good they really are.
It's 4:20. Mickey Spagnola on the Cowboys. Their weekend coming up against the defending champion Rams. He will join us next. We'll have Craig Smoak's Off the Radar still in this 4 o'clock hour. Jeff Howe will join us on Texas and OU just after 5. This is 365 Sports. Stonewood Dental, Robinson, Texas. Dr. Steve Childress is phenomenal. He pushed me to, David, you have to. I mean, it depends on how long I do live. You have to take care of some things now, or it's only going to get worse when it comes to my dental work, and it has gotten better. And we appreciate what Stonewood Dental, I do, brings to the table. Family dentistry, smile makeovers, sedation dentistry, dental implants, I've had those. Crowns, I've had those. And my dental work was just kind of okay. He convinced me to pay attention. Maybe a few years too late, but I have. It was just last week that I put in a couple of new crowns. He did. And it was a very flawless, seamless, and easy transition. Doesn't mean there weren't a couple of moments along the way when I had to have a tooth pulled, implants put in, and there's a needle or two in there, but it was worth it because I've got most of my smile back. In fact, I feel better about it, and I did when I smiled. I took a picture, kind of always knew that there was kind of a gaping hole in the front right side of my smile. Not anymore. Dr. Steve Childress and his staff, they're amazing. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed and kids club, 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
All right, here we go with Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Cowboys and Rams. Cowboys again in a nice little spot where they have been and what Cooper Rush has brought to the table, but the defense starting to play with their hair on fire. Mickey joins us. Mickey, Rams, I watched their game. 49ers beat up Matthew Stafford, beat up the Rams offense, which seems to be right now, I don't know who they are. Were you surprised at how San Francisco was able to dominate that game with their defense?
Well, I think San Francisco, number one, has got a pretty good defense. But number two, the Rams have got problems on their offensive line. They've got a bunch of injuries, and they will continue to have a bunch of injuries come Sunday. From what I've seen, they do have their 2 starting offensive tackles. But when it comes to the 2 guys at guard and the center, all 3 of those guys are considered third-string guys. So not only did they lose their starters at those positions, they also lost the immediate backup. So that'll create problems for any team. And, you know, if you can't run the ball, and they certainly couldn't, and you can't protect your quarterback, you're probably going to have problems winning football games. And I think a lot of that has to do with why they're 2-2. I think the other thing, David, that stands out to me is, you know, at the wide receiver position, they got Cooper Kupp, and, you know, Van Jefferson is still on injured reserve. They don't have, you know, any of the same receiving core they had last year. So that's become problematic with, it seems like all they do is throw the ball to Cooper Kupp and their tight end, Higbee. So, you know, this Cowboys defense has to keep playing the way they have and keep that offense that can be pretty good under control.
And I thought they expected that Allen Robinson would be much more productive, and he just seems to be out of whack right now. I don't know if it's because of time, opportunities to have reps with Matthew Stafford. I saw a couple of throws, which I don't know if it was Robinson or Stafford or both. And Cam Akers hasn't really been able to get going either.
Yeah, and, generally when you got problems on your offensive line, you generally have problems running the football. So, and you're right about Allen Robinson, and they spent some pretty good money to bring him on, but he's no Odell Beckham Jr., right?
No.
And if we think about it, Odell had a pretty good effect on that team last year.
Mickey, anything stand out to you from that win against the Commanders?
Probably two things. One, they did a better job the second half of stopping the run than they did the first half. They gave up 101 yards rushing the first half. Can't have that. And especially they were getting them in big chunk plays. But the second half, they held them to 41 yards. So when you're playing this Rams team, the last couple times the Cowboys have had problems with the Rams, they've run right over the Cowboys. So they can't allow that to happen. And then I think you saw the effect in more than one way of Michael Gallup being back on the field. And not just the fact that he, scored the touchdown. He had 2 catches for 24 yards. But you saw the deep threat he still is coming back from that ACL surgery to the point where he had 2 pretty big chunk plays on pass interference calls on the Commanders. So, you almost got to factor that into his effect on the offense. So that gives them another very credible wide receiver. And I would think, if people are worried about that, that takes a little bit of the attention off of CeeDee Lamb.
Mickey, the Cowboys over their years in history, and you've covered them for a long time, have had these Cinderella stories of backup quarterbacks. Of course, there's the Clint Longley from Wade on, the Hail Mary to Drew Pearson. They've also had some bad ones as well, but they've had some that have kind of worked out. There was a stretch between Aikman and Romo that was, oh my Lord, what a tough time it was, and the record showed it. This Cooper Rush was cut. He's been waived. He's been waived by others. He's been let go. What about it? What about his mental or his ability to be resilient when it looked like so many others, like everybody didn't want him, and look what he's doing.
Well, I think number one, when the Cowboys had the opportunity, and it was a new staff, right, to sign Andy Dalton, you get a veteran quarterback that had, started for the first 8-9 years of his career, and you got him on the cheap. I think you had to basically do that. So they let Cooper Rush go. He hadn't yet played in but 3 games, I think, up to that point. So, you deferred to the experience. And then when the Giants picked him up and had an interesting conversation with Jason Garrett, because he was the one as the offensive coordinator for the Giants in 2020, that he suggested, hey, we got to bring this guy in. Well, unfortunately, COVID hit, and Cooper's not going to wow you when he walks into a room, as Jason said. They didn't get any off season. They didn't get any preseason games, so they never really got a chance to see what Cooper Rush is on a new staff. And they brought in Clayton Thorson. You remember him? The Cowboys had him here for a summer, and he had a good workout, and they decided, well, this guy's better than Cooper Rush. And as Jason Garrett said, when they made that decision, I was like, are you kidding me? I've had both of those guys. You're making a mistake. Well, if you remember, the head coach there in New York, Judge, he kind of knew everything, right?
Oh, yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah. So they let Cooper go. And then like a month later, the Cowboys signed him to the practice squad. So, And then this last year, everybody said, well, the Cowboys didn't know what they had. They cut him. Well, they released him to put him on the practice squad to save a spot on the 53, knowing that they would send him to the practice squad, and he was good with that. So it wasn't like they gave up on him. But now he got the opportunity. He got the opportunity last year for one game and came through. And this is the first time he's started back-to-back games in his NFL career since his last year at college, Central Michigan. And here's the deal with him. I think he knows who he is. He's very smart and prepared. And so he sees things. Doesn't have the greatest arm in the world. But, as long as he's throwing passes he can throw, pre-reads are really good. And really on the deep balls, I've always said the easiest throw for a quarterback is the deep ball because you just let it fly, right? It's the 17-yard outs that you got to have the zing on it and the anticipation to complete those passes. Well, he has shown that his anticipation is very good. So as long as he doesn't make mistakes, and it was almost like in that Washington game he got bailed out by a couple holding or interference calls. He plays within himself, and if they can just run the ball a little bit better than they did against Washington, I think he can be effective playing complementary football with that defense.
He had thrown 3 passes in his first 4 years in the NFL, which is really what you want your backup quarterback to do. You don't want him to play. Yeah.
No, and David, I've always said, you can be a great backup quarterback until they tell you got to play.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when you got to play, the team finds out why you're a backup quarterback, right? Because you're not the guy. But he has hung in there. And, you mentioned the backup quarterbacks, the problems they've had. I kind of did a quick look back, and he's probably for a 3-game stretch been, and if you don't, so let's qualify it. I don't know if you want to call, Dak Prescott a backup quarterback his rookie year because he ended up being the starter, right?
Right.
When Tony Romo got hurt. The same thing in 2006 when Romo basically took over for Bledsoe because Bledsoe wasn't playing well. Well, if you eliminate those 2 possibilities, this is the best backup quarterback streak the Cowboys have had since Steve Berline in 1991 when Troy Aikman got hurt. Playing, by the way, Washington, came in and relieved that game, went on to win the next 4 and a first-round playoff game. So, to me, Berline had kind of set the standard of what you want over long-term that the Cowboys certainly haven't had until now.
I looked at his stats, and again, he hasn't thrown much, but he's thrown a lot this year because he's played so much. He's thrown 7 touchdowns in his NFL career. The part that I look at, though, he's only been picked off 1 time, 152 passes. He's only lost 1 fumble. Might have been a strip sack. I don't remember. Which means he protects the football, and most backup quarterbacks are probably usually you're rolling the dice on whether they can do that.
That's pretty good homework on your part. And then the other thing that he has done, and didn't have to do it this last game, but the previous 3 starts, including Minnesota last year, he had 4th quarter drives to set up either the winning field goal or the winning touchdown in very close, either tied or 1-score games. So he's done this under pressure, and that might be the most, I think, the most important and the most standout thing that he's done. That it hasn't been, well, they've had the lead and he just had to manage. No, it was a last-second touchdown against Minnesota to win the game, a last-second field goal to win a game this year, and then the 4th quarter, the touchdown drive where he went, 89 yards and threw the touchdown pass to CeeDee Lamb that basically solidified the win. So under pressure, he's been pretty darn good.
Mickey, one more thing, and where they are. Is there anyone else, any more of the cavalry other than Dak? Because they just got Gallup back, and of course he gets back and he catches a touchdown. He kept running the route, and Cooper kept the play alive. and that was interesting and special. A great moment for Gallup. You could tell everyone was excited, and so was he. Anyone else that they have that they're getting back? Isn't it the safety that's been out?
Yeah, it looks like J-Ron Curse will be ready to go. He's missed the last, 3 games, and it looks like he has practiced fully this week. I think I'm trying to look it up, but I want to say they completely took him off the injury report. So if they get him back fully and add to that defense, they're looking pretty good right now. So, from a health standpoint, and the other thing that it kind of goes unnoticed, but they had to find a new deep snapper, right? And these guys don't grow on trees, by the way. And they brought 2 guys in, actually brought 4 in, David, and in a workout. They chose 2 of them. Today was the first day I think these guys got an opportunity to snap behind the line. And the guy that they chose to be the guy that was probably going to be the deep snapper is Matt Overton. He was last on the Rams practice squad, but in 2021 he snapped the entire season for the Chargers, and he's bounced around, but he's got some experience. He's 37 years old. So I would imagine they're going to go that route instead of Tucker Addington, who snapped in the USFL this last year, but really doesn't have much experience other than Sam Houston State. But that's the key thing, because the combination, the operation on the kicking units has been really good with Jake McQuaid. Unfortunately, he tore the tricep muscle after he snapped the last punt in the game on Sunday. So now you got to make a mid-season change at that position. But he's got experience, and as Brett Maher said, as long as Brian Anger can handle the snaps, I can kick it. So he said it shouldn't affect me, and they're working on their timing right now. So that's a key thing, I think, to keep your eye on, because if you think about it, Maher's made 10 of 11 kicks. The one he's missed was from 59. So that operation has been very critical to them winning these past 3 games.
Thank you very much, Mickey. We appreciate your time. Mickey Spagnola, Thursdays from DallasCowboys.com with us on 365 Sports. Back to the helmet story with the chat room from Stan. You guys can't play innocent. Helmet gate is real. Who took out the Oklahoma State helmet? I'm not buying your Sergeant Schultz defense. I know nothing. I do know Oklahoma State came to Waco and beat Baylor 36-25. Coming up next, Craig Smoak, Off the Radar. This is 365 Sports. Couple of events going on in the month of October at Woodway, the city of Woodway. In fact, you can go online and look at the information, discoverwoodway.com. There is a drive-through cookout fundraiser going on. In fact, that is Saturday afternoon, actually late morning, early afternoon, 11 to 3. The drive-through cookout fundraiser, the Woodway Public Safety is putting that on, $10 a piece. And you can be a part of that and also have some great food. Join Woodway's Public Safety Association for their annual drive-through cookout. It's Saturday, 11 to 3 at Woodway Elementary, catered by Double R Old-Fashioned Hamburgers. And when I say that, everybody in the studio has had them. They are fantastic. $10 for a hamburger, 2 hot dogs. Baskets will include a drink and chips. Raffle prizes include Yeti coolers, kayaks, a PlayStation, and also so much more. And then coming up later in the month on Saturday, October 29th at Woodway's Activity Park, 6 until 8 p.m., join the Woodway Public Safety Department and Woodway Family Center for a fun trick-or-treat drive-through so you can enjoy Halloween. That's October 29th, 6 to 8, inside or a part of Woodway, the Public Safety Department at Woodway Family Center. So that's that as well at Woodway's Activity Park. It's discoverwoodway.com.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions. fast friendships, and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
We're fighting hard at Pickup Outfitters in our battle to end truck nudity. But it's not just about putting an outfit on a naked truck, it's about making sure you have the very best customer service. So we offer the Pickup Outfitters Lifetime Installation Guarantee. Over time, sometimes your outfit needs a little tune-up, maybe some tightening, adjusting, whatever. If you outfitted your truck at Pickup Outfitters, that tune-up is absolutely no charge for the remainder of the time you own that truck. We also offer free warranty assistance. If for any reason you need to use your warranty, you just bring it back to us and we take care of it. It just makes sense. I mean, operating without a promise like that would be like offering customer service in the nude. And if you've seen our staff, trust me, you don't want that. So do your part to end truck nudity by outfitting your truck, Jeep, SUV, or van at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, where we promise to serve you fully clothed. Check out our website, createacommotion.com.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar here on 365 Sports. Tuesdays and Thursdays around 4:45, taking a look at stories outside the normal scope of our talking points. And I did want to follow up on something that certainly was, and that was the Max Johnson injury. We told you Quinn Ewers is back for Texas. That's notable. And we'll start this weekend for UT, which is also notable. And I think the spread's now up to 9.5. I think I looked at last point, so definitely some money moving in UT's favor, which is no surprise. But we also talked about Max Johnson being out now for A&M. And as far as the timetable goes, I did see from Billy Liucci I'm told Texas A&M quarterback Max Johnson has a broken bone in his throwing hand. Initially, it had said that it would be a season-ending injury potentially, but he says it's not a season-ending injury, but it's certainly a multi-week injury. So read that however you want to, but multi-week injury. Max Johnson's going to be out for a few games, and it very well could ultimately end up being season-ending when all is said and done. So, we'll see what happens. Haynes King's the guy again, or, do they eventually rip off the plastic surrounding the young freshman and go ahead and just say, hey, give it a whirl? I saw some debate about that. Like, might as well just go, throw Connor Weigman out there. And I'm like, do you do that though? I mean, in this scenario, do you do that, or do you just let Haynes King go until, he can't go anymore? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how Jimbo decides to maneuver around this.
If, in fact, and Haynes will start against Alabama, I guess, but let's just say he keeps struggling. He does not take care of the football. I loved him in high school, loved the family and all that. We know that from Longview, but he doesn't take care of the football. And he didn't really do that a lot his senior year at Longview after they won the state championship. You wonder where he is, and now does he start to play cautious? And so Jimbo Fisher's job is to win. Whether he's getting $9.5 million a year or he's getting $4 million a year, his job is to win. And right now, Max Johnson gave him a chance to stay in some games, but then they get blown out by Mississippi State. Of course, I know he's out. What would you do?
Well, that's why I asked you.
I think you have to start. You got to win some games. You got to get. Let's say you lose in Alabama,
right? But like I said, you've got Connor Weigman there. He's a young freshman. You got Haynes King. Do you ride? That's the question. Do you ride Haynes King and you just deal with what comes with that, which is turnovers and losses, or do you rip the shirt off?
I think your job is to win, which means you rip the shirt off the freshman and just hope to God you don't blow his mind in the SEC with who he's going to play.
And that's why it's a question, because if it wasn't a question of do you damage him, then you
But what do you
Garrett,
do?
Garrett, do you have an opinion on this? What would you do? Because here's a scenario for what we're trying to get through here is that, yes, Connor Weigman appears to be pretty good, but he is young and he's inexperienced. So do you throw him to Alabama if Haynes King struggles and potentially damage him early on, or do you just say, Haynes, it's you, man, and it's you until it's not you anymore?
I mean, for me, I'm letting Haynes ride it out in Tuscaloosa. Now, if things get out of control and there's a situation where, obviously you don't want him to get hurt, but if there's a situation where he's like throwing a bunch of picks and stuff, then you have to make a business decision to put Connor out there. But going forward, I think you ideally want to get Connor some reps, but putting him in against Bama is kind of asking for it, man. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, how they handle that, but. Yeah, Haynes King's got quite the test in front of him.
And maybe they can pull up some magic and figure some things out, but it doesn't appear to be this weekend. I saw Weigman. He's good. He's good. He's fun. He can run. And but boy, I tell you what, Haynes King has struggled with the picks and threw a pick 6 against Mississippi State. And I wonder where he is mentally. I did an interview with John King, right, Jacob, last week, and he's talking about it's the hardest thing he's ever been through to watch what's going on with his son. But understanding what is going on at A&M, he also understands why he's not playing. And, of course, now he's having to play.
Yeah, potentially. And that's what we will see as Jimbo Fisher tries to navigate through that. But, we will see how Haynes King's able to do. Certainly a huge test against Alabama coming up this week. So very interesting quarterback stuff going on in the state of Texas right now, to be sure. Elsewhere in baseball, Aaron Judge did ultimately hit 62 since the last time I did this segment. Actually, he did it on Tuesday night when I mentioned he had not hit number 62 just yet. He does have number 62 now as of like 3 hours after this segment previously. It was cool. It was fine. It was what it was. He's the new AL home run king. I did see the interview with the fan afterward, who apparently is still debating on what exactly he's going to do with the baseball. I did see it was like 5 minutes. Somebody had this background. He works at like some firm or something, makes pretty good money. So of course there's a lot of rolling of the eyes of like, yeah, of course that guy who's already doing pretty well for himself is the guy that gets this however many millions or whatever you want to trade it for ball situation. But as of yet, he has not sold the baseball, the 62 baseball from Aaron Judge, but he has been apparently offered $2 million, according to reports, for said baseball. I'm sure there's been other offers of some sort, like, you get a Derek Jeter autographed bat and all kinds of, other stuff that's been thrown at him as well. But what would you guys do? $2 million, would you sell the Aaron Judge 62 ball, or would you hold on to it and say, it might be worth more later on, or I could get more for it if I, leverage it a bit more? What would you do?
Well, he's got at least a year to find out if it's more valuable. It's only going to get more valuable because 60. How long it took? 50, 60 years for someone to break the American League record. Mm-hmm. So, and by the way, he's got a high-profile CEO type of job, but you have to be in the right place at the right time. And he made a hell of a catch, and there were a couple of other people right there. He leaned over and made the catch. I mean, Judge could have hit that 10 feet above him or 8 feet to the left of him or right of him or whatever. I would sell it. I would. Aaron Judge means nothing to me personally. And even if it was my favorite player, let's say whoever, to me, you take advantage of it. And again, that's why I'm not an investor, because a lot would just sit on it. It might be worth $4 million in a year.
I think I'm selling it. I mean, because if he hits 63, he hits 64, does it lose value? I mean, at some point, does it kind of like the rust wear off or whatever in that situation?
I mean, I guess the good thing is that the season ended right afterwards, so he could, in theory, hit more. But as far as the regular season goes, I mean, that's done. He's got 62. He eked it out by 1. But yeah, I mean, he could hit more in the postseason. I mean, I guess it'd be given your situation. If you're a hardcore Yankees fan who's like into memorabilia, maybe you hold on to it and you put it in a safety deposit box somewhere or something. But if you need $2 million, then yeah, I'm sure that's a nice offer at a nice time. I think I'd probably be apt to sell it unless I had somebody in my ear telling me like, oh no, if you hold on to it, there's a chance that it could triple in value. Well, then maybe I'd hold on to it for a couple of years, but I don't know. This guy seems to have the luxury of not needing to have to make a decision. So good for him, and I'll be interested to see what he does. I would assume ultimately they make him an offer he can't refuse, and that ends up in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I mean, that's as much of a deal as they made about it. I just have a hard time believing they're not going to do everything they can to get that baseball, especially with it being a Yankees record.
He's in the finance industry, so he understands numbers. He understands value. You understand trending. To me, I would sell it, but why not? He might not need to sell it. He might have a lot of money. So he's a pretty good-looking athlete, the guy that caught the ball. Big, strong, good-looking guy.
All right, so baseball playoffs are ongoing. Yankees are a part of that. They'll be in a first round, they'll wait the first round winner of the the Guardians and the Tampa Bay Rays. That's a 3-6 matchup. That winner goes on. Guardians and Rays to face the Yankees and Aaron Judge in the ALDS. The other wild card matchup, Mariners and Blue Jays. They'll go on to face the winner, or they'll go on to face the Astros on the NL side of things. In the wild card, you got the 3-6 Cardinals and Phillies. Winner goes on to meet the Braves, Padres, and Mets, the 5 versus the 4. The winner will go on to meet the LA Dodgers. So the postseason lineup is set, and we'll start to get some games beginning tomorrow. You'll have Game 1, Tampa Bay and Cleveland. Game 1, Philly and St. Louis. Game 1, Seattle and Toronto. Game 1, San Diego and the Mets. So, all 4 getting underway, and that should be a lot of fun to see the NLDS start beginning tomorrow.
Okay, maybe I've missed something along the way, but baseball playoffs were always reseeded. Am I right, Garrett? Jake, am I right? The baseball playoffs were always seeded, and reseeded at the end of each round. So if you were the number 1 seed or like the number 4 seed and you upset the number 1 seed, you didn't get you would then play the next highest seed in the next round. And I know wild card games have thrown that out and teams have buys. But it's now more of an NCAA tournament look. I saw this today on The Athletic. I didn't even know that. So if you happen to catch a break and beat a higher seed, you're going to end up playing perhaps somebody that the higher seed was supposed to play and might open up the door for you to make a run, although there's not a lot of rounds like there is in the NCAA tournament.
I had no idea about that. I don't keep up with baseball like that.
Here's the athletic story for Craig's story. Brackets. The playoff format is different this year, already stirring up controversy. There will be no reseeding after the wild card rounds. So that's what you see, you get. It feels like the NCAA tournament or something, and I dig it.
What is that from?
Theathletic.com.
They dig it. Okay. Well, yeah, I didn't have a lot of I guess, thought about that. I didn't even notice it, to be quite frank with you. So, yeah, that's not something I've paid much attention to, but that's interesting that they're doing it differently. So, yeah, that's the matchups that you will get as far as the first round getting underway tomorrow. And, yeah, we'll see what happens with the baseball postseason, but quite a way to finish out the regular season with Aaron Judge hitting number 62. So let me see here. A couple more notes. Landon Collins, safety, reportedly signing with the New York Giants. He was previously, a while back, with the Washington Commanders. He had told Josina Anderson he signed with the Giants and visited the team this week and will travel with them to London. He will join their practice squad, so it's not quite straight to the main roster, but he was previously with the Giants. He was a top 35 pick for them back in 2015 out of Alabama, went to 3 Pro Bowls, and then signed a big deal with the Commanders that included a lot of guaranteed money, but didn't really work out ultimately there. He's back on the market, and so he's headed back to New York, and a little bit of a notable name as far as NFL transactions go. And LeBron James, I just thought I'd mention this as well. NBA season, seen a lot of the buzz growing for that. He's made his intention known once again, according to a report on Yahoo, that he is talking heavily about wanting to be the owner of the Las Vegas franchise whenever they do get that expansion team in Las Vegas, or however that ultimately unfolds. It seems like it's inevitable at this point, but LeBron James said he does want to own the NBA team in Las Vegas. He's making it very clear to Adam Silver, saying, I know Adam's in Abu Dhabi right now, but he probably sees every single interview and transcript that comes through NBA players, so I want the team here, Adam. Thank you. He wants that Las Vegas NBA expansion team, so we will see. It seems, like I said, inevitable is the word I keep going back to, but they're getting everything. We'll see if they ultimately get the A's down the road as well. But the NBA, that's just a matter of time. And looks like LeBron James, if he has his say, will be heavily involved in the ownership side of it. But I guess there's a rule that you have to be retired. I'm not sure if it's for a certain amount of time. So I don't think we're going to see the end of him once his playing career is over. I think that's just the beginning, and we're going to see him all over, including probably in an ownership role. So there's a few things off the radar.
All right, Craig, thank you very much. And let's see, there was a couple of comments. This is not off the radar. It's Dragon Time from Monty on Craig's Off the Radar. Cameron, look, and thank you very much, Monty, for that. It's an enjoyable segment, a lot of interesting. Had some things today earlier about any update on the young lady, the coach at UT Permian Basin, and I went to Google.
She's on suspension.
Yeah, she's on suspension,
Yep.
and now they just like to see whatever else comes from that.
And then I did read where apparently she got the job because she had a really good season the year prior with the school that she was at. They were not very good, I guess, and I don't know. There could be it could be COVID reasons why that team wasn't very good, but she let them do a big turnaround, and that catapulted her into getting the UTPB job, and here she is. So, yeah, nothing to follow up on other than she's under the lens of investigation right now, and I don't know how, given the allegations, that's going to work out in her favor, but we shall see. We shall see what happens. But, yeah, that doesn't have an interesting ending just yet.
From Biscuits and Gravy on the helmet situation in the background, which has gotten some play, I want the Baylor helmet in the middle, front and center. And for a lot of you that have joined us maybe even today or over the time, we started in April of 2020. It was a Baylor core show, Sikkim 365 Radio, which became 365 Sports. And a lot of you may have joined us after Texas OU and the SEC. Your team, you were trying to figure out where they're going to be. That's how we have UCF fans or Brigham Young fans or whoever, Cincinnati and Houston, among others. And then the USC-UCLA story popped, and then you started having others. But that's kind of how we've grown into a college football show. We will still cover Baylor, but we do enjoy covering the other programs, including what we've had, in fact, on today's show, dropping in with Kansas, and we're about to drop in to cover Texas in their week with Texas OU. LeBron James, yeah, I did not know this, what the rules were about whether you could be a player owner. I know you could be a player coach, but I didn't know about the player owner. All right, when we come back, Jeff Howe covers Texas. The story about Quinn Ewers available, starting perhaps based on what Pete Thamel's saying. What does Jeff have to say about that? This is 365 Sports. I was in Don Humidor. It was not this week, but last week. Went by there to pick up some cigars. I play golf when I can on Thursday and or Sunday morning, and I enjoy smoking a cigar or two when I'm playing the round of golf. Loft Montana is one of my favorite brands of cigars. It's a nice brand. It's not one sometimes you hear too much about, like Macanudo, Aston, CAO, Romeo and Julieta, Arturo Fuente, Rocky Patel, Padron, and Cohiba. Those are highly heavy level of cigar brands. Good ones, great ones. But Loft Montana is really good. They have a Churchill length, and they have also the torpedo end, which I enjoy that as well. Went in there and got some cigars for me to smoke when I play, when I can, on Thursdays or Sunday mornings. They also have CBD products. If you struggle at night falling asleep, you're always tossing and turning, and a lot of it might be what you had to drink or you had to eat or just a lot in your mind, this will allow you to kind of settle down a little bit, and the next thing you know, you wake up the next morning and you feel refreshed because you got an extra 45 minutes or an hour of sleep. Believe me, it makes a difference. And they have fresh coffee beans. Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne, a 48-foot walk-in humidor, Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
During Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels, our great selection of new cars and trucks come with amazing deals and competitive financing that makes you ask, why shop anywhere else? The new 2022 Ram trucks are designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. These legendary, award-winning trucks give you that first-class feel, luxurious leather trim seating options, exceptional legroom and storage, plus surround view camera options you'd expect from a premium truck. Come see our selection today or browse online at allensamuelsdcj.com.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Shapen for the first half. A lot of pressure in his face as he sets to throw, and he goes downfield to the end zone. Beautiful for Monterey Baldwin.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now, here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Horns 247, also on the horn in Austin. Jeff Howe covers the University of Texas football. They have Oklahoma Saturday, 11 o'clock the kick at the Cotton Bowl, and the great rivalry that is. Jeff, what's the worst kept secret in Austin, Texas right now?
Probably that Quinn Ewers is trending towards starting in this game. I mean, that's what we've heard. Smokey has to close the business yesterday. We reported it on the site this morning. I think last week, I don't know if I'd call it a setback. It's maybe a bump in the road in him getting back. And, Sark is not going to give anybody publicly. He's not going to tip his hand. He's made that pretty clear. But I think he answered the question at the beginning of the week without really answering it when he was asking, do you stick with the hot hand with Hudson Card? Or do you go with Quinn if he's ready? And Sark said, well, I'm going to go with the guy that gives us the best chance to win. I think all things equal, he's made that pretty clear that he feels that's Quinn Ewers, given the fact of when he made the decision. And, they've just kind of been waiting for him to get back. Hudson Card has done a phenomenal job considering he's done a lot of what he's done on one leg. I mean, that ankle's really bothered him while he started. All signs right now are pointing to Quinn Ewers being the guy on Saturday.
Jeff, in terms of, I guess, least hyped OU Texas games that you've covered, where does this one rank?
Man, Craig, it's up there. It's really weird, for me as an observer of this Texas program, having gone through like the 5-year losing streak in the early Bob Stoops, Mac Brown portion of this rivalry to that just kind of making it feel like Texas feels almost up against it every year when you go into this game. It's been a long time since, Texas has been the prohibitive favorite in this game, the betting favorite, and where you feel like, man, it's almost turned into, and a lot of it just has to do with two things, Oklahoma's psyche and all the injuries they're dealing with. They're like, okay, what can Oklahoma do to stay in the ballgame? So it's really weird from that standpoint, but honestly, Craig, it really takes you back to like when I was a kid growing up watching this game, like in the early to mid '90s, even the late '90s, when nobody outside of the two fan bases really cared. But like I said all week, whether it was '94 with Tony Clark stopping James Allen at the goal line, the overtime game in '96, those were some of the better games in the history of the rivalry when, again, nobody outside the two fan bases cared. But yeah, it's a really, of the ones I've covered, under hype is one way to put it. Just strange circumstances entering this one for me, having covered it as long as I have.
I'm trying to think, and Texas has won 2 or 3 times when it, like recently, not recently, but over the last 15 to 25 years, they've won when sometimes it was not expected. Oh my God, Coach Charlie Strong year, among a couple of other.
Mac Brown's final year.
Has Oklahoma stunned Texas in a way where they're like a 9.5-point favorite? The 2000 team was on a roll and they blew Texas out of the water, and that was a run that they started to make. Has it been Oklahoma as the underdog that's won very often, like an underdog like this one?
You know what, Smokey, off the top of my head, I mean, you would probably have to go back to '96, John Blake's first year, when Oklahoma at that point, I think probably in all of our lifetimes, was the low point for Oklahoma football. Yeah, that Texas team ended up beating Nebraska and winning a Big 12 title. So, yeah, I mean, I would probably say maybe '96 might be the last time when you look at it and say, yeah, Oklahoma as the underdog kind of got Texas. The shoe's definitely been on the other foot in this rivalry for, I don't know, the last 25 or 30 years.
Yeah. Absolutely. Jeff Howe, Horns 247 with us on 365 Sports.
So, Jeff, just looking at UT last week, that West Virginia game, didn't seem like they had to stress really about too much in that one. But what were sort of your takeaways knowing that, hey, this is the last run-up to, playing Oklahoma, even though maybe not at the time you realized just how kind of low-hyped this one would be. But what were your impressions of Texas after the Mountaineer game?
Yeah, I think two. Well, let's go three. I'll try to make them as quick as I can. I think one, you look Texas, they recovered an onside kick with about 4.5 minutes left. And I think for Sark to put the ball in Bijan Robinson's hands and tell him, look, we need you to milk this last 4.5 minutes off the clock. I think getting the ball into the hands of your best player and letting him build some confidence coming off of a week where he took one on the chin with the overtime fumble in Lubbock, I think that was key. And talking to Jatavian Sanders after the game, he said, look, you build confidence anytime you line up. The other team knows you're going to run the football. You have to run the football, and you just can run the football. So I think from that standpoint, absolutely. I think the way the Texas defense is playing, I mean, we talked, anytime I've been on with you guys in the last year, we talked about just the abysmal records that the Texas defense set last year. And guys, this is the top 25 defense in the country in yards per play allowed. They're top 35 in the country in yards per rushing attempt allowed. You look at Pro Football Focus, we got the 14th rated run defense in the country. So all the metrics tell you this thing is trending in the right direction. And that defense didn't really give West Virginia much of anything. West Virginia really didn't put anything together until, Texas, by the time they scored their first touchdown, Texas already had a 4-touchdown lead. So, and to your point, Craig, the last thing, the game was over pretty quick. And I think that's pivotal for Texas to get off to a good start in this game. I think that is the easiest path to a victory for Texas is a hot start, not just on offense, but I think on both sides. You look at the way, the West Virginia's first, I think those first 5 drives, it was 5 drives, it was 4 punts and a turnover on downs. Texas on their first 5 drives, it was 4 touchdowns. So, I think getting off to a hot start with the defense playing as well as they did. If Texas can get up early, guys, I think in the first 8 to 10 minutes of the game, if they get a 10-0, a 14-0, a 17-3 type lead, you just wonder at this point with Oklahoma's psyche, do they have enough about them at that point to dig out of that hole? And unlike last year, Caleb Williams isn't sitting on the bench to try to rescue him. So I think if you're starting, that's not the only way Texas can win this game, but I think that is the easiest path to this game is just try to go for the knockout as early as possible.
I was about to bring in, Superman's not walking off that bench to come in and give Oklahoma the spark of all sparks, which was really, even then, was shocking the way they flipped the switch on Texas last year.
Yeah, Smokey, that's going to be big for Texas, too. I think it goes back to the Texas Tech game. Under Sark, he's had 4 losses where they've had a double-digit lead at some point in the second half. The Texas Tech one was the latest. And I think that's where, if you're Texas, that's a place you probably don't want to be, just based on history, as it being like a 3-pointer or a touchdown game, mid of the third quarter going into the fourth quarter, just based on what history tells you. But that's going to be interesting. If Texas does get in that position, can they close out Oklahoma? Can they close out what still I think is, you can debate how good Oklahoma is. It's still Oklahoma. It's a quality opponent. But that's something, when you look at all the issues with this program, guys, all the negative stuff that you can talk about, the lack of second half adjustments, the inability to protect the lead, getting way too conservative. Do they have the mental fortitude, the mental toughness to be able to choke out an opponent when they've got their foot on their throat? All that stuff started with this game last year. So regardless of whether anybody wants to label it a signature win for Sark, given where Oklahoma is, if Texas wins this ball game, and if they happen to do it in that fashion where you can really close them out in the second half, I think that's a really good way to turn the page and start anew going into the second half of the year. With the Oklahoma game behind you, you got Iowa State at home next week, and then it really gets tough with you got a bye week in between trips to Manhattan and Stillwater. So this is a really big game for Texas on a lot of fun.
I saw where Parker Thune reported just a little while ago that Sooners linebacker Shane Witter out for the season due to left shoulder injury. Oklahoma now left with 4 active scholarship linebackers entering this game, Jeff. They could, in theory, pull the red shirt off somebody, but 4 active scholarship linebackers as the injuries just continue to hit. So that leads me to we know the situation there, and we know Texas had the nice win. Is there anything about Oklahoma? Like, Dylan Gabriel's a question mark, obviously. The defense is a mess, but is there anything about them that other than Texas doing something to themselves that concerns you from the opponent perspective?
What really concerns me, Craig, is when I look at the middle of the Texas defense, that's where West Virginia, even last week, to an extent, if you attack Texas, you can get them between the numbers and kind of in that intermediate game. Jalen Ford's proven to be a really good linebacker against the run. DeMarvion Overshone has been really good when they put him on the edge and used him as a blitzer. But I think coverage by the linebackers is still kind of an issue. And when you look at Drake Stoops plays almost exclusively in the slot, Marvin Mims is probably, 55-45 slot versus out wide. And then you've got Braden Willis at tight end who's played a lot of football. I think if Oklahoma's going to move the ball, if you're going to see them move the ball, I think it's going to be attacking Texas at the second level. You can neutralize. Texas, they don't have the sack numbers, guys, but I mean, their front four has been able to generate pressure and put pressure on opposing quarterbacks about as good as any defensive front in the Big 12 when you start looking at pressure rates and just raw numbers of pressures. But if Jeff Levy can keep the tempo up and use that quick passing game and get it 5-6 yards a pop attacking Texas at the second level, especially, Greg, you talk about injuries. I mean, what is Eric Gray's status going to be in this game? I mean, Marcus Major's coming off of an injury. What does the Oklahoma backfield look like? I think those three guys, I think it's Drake Stoops, Braden Willis, and Marvin Mims attacking Texas at the second level. I think that's Oklahoma. That's the path of least resistance for Oklahoma to try to move the football.
Do you think there's a possibility because of how last year went, and because really, I know Texas has won this game, but Texas, Oklahoma seems like they have really had the upper hand, as you mentioned, since Stoops arrived. Do you think that if there's a chance Texas can just crush them, they will?
I don't know, Smokey, because that's not really Sark's style. And I don't mean to say Sark would call the dogs off or feel bad for Brent Venables. But I think you look at the West Virginia game, and I think this is, and maybe that's a turning point moment for Sark, so that's something to monitor. But I think you look at the West Virginia game, the way they won that game, I think it's how Steve Sarkisian wants to win a football game. If you can get, a 14, 17, 21-point lead and get the game in the second half where the clock is on your side. I mean, look, the Texas defense, they gave up some yards and gave up some points in the second half, but you're still holding West Virginia to about 4 yards of play. And, I mean, it's almost like they say, hey, if you want to take 7.5 minutes off the clock to try to score, great, you're going to run out of time and you're not going to be able to win this ballgame. It's kind of how Texas won the TCU game last year. They got a big lead and just kind of held on to the end. So it's really kind of Sark style if you do get a lead to kind of hold on and try to just hold serve, so to say. So I think, Smokey, if Texas got us in, man, I think your Texas fans should make you really nervous because, again, I can't remember a point in the rivalry, maybe other than the 2005 game, when you're talking about, the disparity between the two squads, potentially, at least what you see on paper going in. But that would be, to me anyway, a change of style in terms of the way Steve Sarkisian wants to win ball games.
Yeah, that was the Vince Young and national championship team. Jatavian Sanders, a very incredibly good young talent, big body, young kid from Denton Ryan. Has he even been better early than they thought?
Yeah, Smokey, I'll tell you where he's really been good. So you look at that tight end position for them going into the year, and they had planned on kind of making Jatavian Sanders exclusively their inline guy. They were going to use Jaleel Billingsley, the Alabama transfer, as kind of their, kind of a sniffer back. You can flex him, split him out wide. He'd be right now sitting on a 6-game suspension. They fought to get that overturned. It was an issue that happened when he was at Alabama. They couldn't get it overturned. So Jatavian Sanders has kind of become their move guy, doing a little bit of everything. And, I mean, anybody that saw him in high school knows the guy's got incredibly strong hands. He's a gifted athlete. His ability as a blocker, it's not like he's just rolling guys off the line of scrimmage, but, as much split zone as they run, as much wide zone as they run, his ability just to kind of get in front of people at times and just actually look like he belongs at that position, that's a credit to him and a credit to the job Jeff Banks did as a tight ends coach last year to basically take last year. He didn't redshirt. He ended up playing in 11 games, but basically say, look, while you got two veterans in Cade Brewer and Jared Wiley, we're going to teach you the nuances of this position, teach you how to be a complete tight end. Smokey, you got to go back to, and I don't think I'm out of turn saying this. I mean, you got to go back to David Thomas to find the last time Texas had a true, legit, complete tight end that was a three-down player that they could move around and do a lot of different stuff. But Jermichael Finley was a great receiver. I even think Game-Mike would probably be the first to tell you he wasn't, an elite-level blocker. But overall, I mean, it's been a long time since Texas has had a guy like Ja'Tavion Sanders that could do so much in the blocking aspect. Just his willingness as a blocker, I think that is leaps and bounds ahead of where I think this Texas staff thought it would be.
Yeah, he's a freak of an athlete. This series, 55-48, 53-45, 4 overtimes. The year before that, 48-45, Texas won in 18. Oklahoma put up 60 in 2012, and I think 2000 when they won the national title, and again in 2003. You talked about the blowout 45-12. They have put up a bunch of numbers, these two teams, and there's been some dominant games and also some classic slow-scoring games as well. Thanks for your time, Jeff. Enjoy it. I don't know what to expect. I mean, Texas a 9.5-point favorite. I think a lot of people feel like this could get ugly, but that's why they've played as many times as they have, because you never know.
I'll tell you this, Smokey. It's adding to all this. This is the longest stretch. You take out the Big 12 championship game, it's the longest stretch in the history of this rivalry where the regular season meeting has been decided by 8 points or less. So for one side or the other, it does feel like maybe somebody's due for one of those ones that everybody can find another game by the start of the third quarter.
Yep. Thank you very much, Jeff. Jeff Howe, Horns 247, also the Horn in Austin on radio, does a great job with UT, Texas, and Oklahoma. Craig, you have any idea what to expect?
No, I don't think any. But yeah, I guess I kind of do. I expect a Texas blowout. I think anything outside of that would be a massive disappointment. I don't know how you could excuse anything other than that or expect anything other than that. I mean, Oklahoma's got 4 scholarship linebackers. They're on a backup quarterback who looked anything but impressive last weekend. I don't see how Dylan Gabriel plays. Maybe he would have if the NFL didn't have their whole to-do about Tua a week ago. But now with that, I think everybody's going to play it more safe with concussions, and that's, apparently what he's dealing with. So I just think it would probably be a bad look. Hey, if he's good to go, that's great. That makes the game more interesting, but not banking on it. And outside of him being able to play, I don't love the offense. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you're really spinning as a positive in Oklahoma's case as far as this week goes. I failed to see it based on what we've witnessed the last couple of weeks. Defense is in disarray. Offense's best players now out of the equation as far as the field general goes. But yeah, I mean, if Marvin Mims can hit a couple of plays and maybe some others can contribute here and there, may get some special teams, I guess. But I don't know. I'm having a hard time seeing how Texas doesn't win this game comfortably.
Yep, that's what I was expecting or am expecting. Who knows? There have been those whoa. Some teams sometimes. I saw some Sarkisian quotes about play free and easy, but don't play uptight. And sometimes that can happen, especially if you're a heavy favorite. And it's been a while, or it's not been very often that UT has been the heavy favorite. When we come back, Jennifer Smoak and fantasy football. What a weekend she has to explain. Next on 365 Sports.
The wait is over. Richard Carr GMC has the trucks. 2022 GMC Sierras have hit the lot, and they're waiting for you. Sierra trucks offer best-in-class towing, strong steel beds, multi-pro tailgates, and advanced features that make driving a Sierra second to none. Trucks are waiting for you to test drive now. So call now, log in now, or get here now and drive your next truck today at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Looking for a great job with great pay and awesome benefits? Genco FCU is hiring. As a longtime Waco employer, Genco focuses on what matters most in our employees' lives, like pay incentives, bonuses, benefits, 401k plans, paid time off, advancement opportunities, medical, prescription, dental, and vision insurance, as well as short and long-term disability. Come join our incredible team today and make Genco your career that will work for you. Apply at gencofcu.org or at any branch location.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
It's time for fantasy guru Jennifer Smoak, brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, a hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour reaches the halfway point. Paul's out today, back with us tomorrow. Craig Smoak, David Smoak, and now Jennifer Smoak. The Smoak Show here on 365 Sports. Jennifer Smoak, Fantasy Football League guru. And we're going to be positive about today. And you had maybe one of the most nightmarish fantasy football weekends ever. But do you want to just not talk about it?
I mean, honestly, y'all are lucky I'm able to do this show today because I just got released from the Rusk State Hospital just a few hours ago after the trauma I endured on Sunday and Monday night. So, I mean, we can talk about it. It's sad. It's sad when you lose and you put up 176 points and you lose to someone who puts up 185. So there's just so many things last week that went wrong against me, but there were so many things that also went good for me. So it was just one of those like heart-wrenching losses where I should have won and I didn't due to numerous reasons. And it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
So you had a nice lead going into Sunday night, and the Buccaneers were playing, and you had a very comfortable lead, and Brady and Mike Evans went off, right? And that like just basically just sucked any kind of a 50, 60, 70 point lead that you had.
I think I was actually winning by 100. I want to say 140 to about 50-something points at that time. And like I said on the show last week, I knew that Persia's team was due for a big week. She had been scoring average points the first 3 weeks. And I just knew that, with Mike Evans coming back from his suspension and Brady had only had one touchdown in the first 3 weeks of the game going up against the Chiefs on a Sunday night playing field, I just knew Brady and Mike were going to go off Of course, Brady had the best game of this season so far with over 300 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, one of those being towards the end of the game. And that's what was haunting me is there was 5 minutes left in the game, and I feel like any other team when they were losing the way that the Bucs were would have taken their, starting quarterback out to just, not risk any injury or anything. But no. We don't do that with Brady. Brady fights until the end, which is admirable until you're playing him in fantasy. But he, of course, in the last 5 minutes, him and Mike Evans got like a combined 17 points, and the game wouldn't end. It kept going and going. Then he throws a touchdown pass to Fournette. And, of course, Brady's 2 touchdown passes were to Mike Evans, who I was also playing. And one of those, I believe, was on the 1 yard line. So, Mike Evans ends up with over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and it just completely screwed me from there. I mean, it was just a complete nightmare from there, and they didn't even win the game. So, yeah, it was a lot of yelling. I lost my voice. I'm just now starting to get it back. But, yeah, a terrible, terrible night for me.
Jennifer, you then had Deebo Samuel, who had been due for a breakout game. And he gives you a big lift on Monday night, and it actually brings you back into the lead. But what happened with the 49ers defense and the Rams and Matthew Stafford?
What didn't happen with the 49ers defense Monday night? I mean, who would have thought that I would have had to have been so scared about a defense, which not to mention I had week 1 and I dropped them. So that's another reason they came back to haunt me. But good God. I mean, the 49ers defense killed me that game. I went into that game and I was losing by 20-something points. And then when you start the game, the defense, with the way our points are set up, your defense starts out with 10 points. So when the game started that night, I was down by about 30 points, but you always expect the defense to lose some points here and there. And I think everyone expected the Rams to do much better than they did. But the 49ers D came to play and basically controlled that whole game. And once again, Matthew Stafford and completely screwed me over like he did week 1 with Allen Robinson. But yeah, the 49ers defense just kept getting sack after sack. A sack is 1 point every time. They ended up with 7 sacks. I mean, I do not know what was going on with the Rams that game. They only scored 9 points, which also gives your defense more points. They had a pick 6 at the end of the game. I want to say that it was another 5 minutes left at the end of the fourth, and all I needed was the game to end. I was up by 2 points because Deebo had gone off, and he got me 30 points. He did exactly what I needed him to do, but unfortunately, the 49ers defense also went off, and they ended up with 22 points, and with that pick 6 at the end of the game that Stafford threw, that caused me to lose. And then Stafford gets the ball back again, and I believe they got 2 more sacks and a fumble recovery. I mean, it was just a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. To see your players go off the way that mine did last week, to put up that many points and to still get a loss, it's why people stop playing fantasy football, really.
Well, and I've told you this, and Craig has told you this, and we don't do this because you're a sports fan and you love sports, and this takes that away from you in a way, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was going crazy because Deebo, like I said, usually, like if I know that my player needs to score big, I have to go in there cautiously knowing that, anything can happen. And the way that the game started Monday night, I wasn't confident with what Deebo was doing. And then all of a sudden he had that huge 57-yard touchdown catch that had me losing my mind. But I was trying to keep my composure because I saw how well the 49ers defense was doing, or was trying to make an appearance. And I saw how well the 49ers defense was doing. And so I couldn't get comfortable. And that's the thing. It's like there's nothing worse than when you can't even feel comfortable in what your team's doing when they're going off because you're always up against something else even bigger. And so, Deebo finally had his big game. So it sucks to lose when your players are going off. And he had 6 receptions for 115 yards and a touchdown. And, he should have had another touchdown, but then he fell at the 1 yard line. That's another thing that was killing me last week is Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown, 2 of my players, both of them had touchdowns, which would have won me last week. But their offense, somebody on the offense had a penalty, and so both of those touchdowns got called back. So it was just one thing after the other last week, and it put me into a spiral.
All right, so Garrett, do you have the picture? I'm not sure if you know we have this, Jennifer. This is a picture that we got from a source.
And my God.
And it's Oreo. She's she's outside of what is the entrance into your kitchen from your TV room. And the look on her face is of nothing but shock and awe. She's traumatized. When did this happen?
I mean, at what point? There were so many things that happened. It had to have been either, well, first of all, I don't know when it happened because I didn't know this picture was taken. But I would have to guess that it happened Sunday night whenever like Brady and Evans were just going off and off and off, or it happened Monday night when Stafford was a complete failure to the entire Rams nation. But, you know, what else is sad is that Brady, you know, they only attempted to rush the ball 6 times against the Chiefs, which marks just the 5th time in NFL history that a team has attempted to rush 6 or fewer times. Of course that happened. Of course they wanted to throw the ball every time because I'm playing Brady. You know, it's just the things that happen, they're unspeakable, and my jaw is just dropped. Like watching everything that went on, it's like it could not, like the fantasy gods could not have been more for me and against me in the same week. It was craziness because, you know, I had Hawkinson and I've been complaining about his playing ability, and I've been saying that he hasn't been doing great, and I knew it was because when you have Amon-Ra St. Brown in there, he's just getting all of Hawkinson's receptions. But Hawkinson was my star player this week. He had 8 receptions for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also should have had a 3rd touchdown, but Goff just barely overthrew him. I mean, he went off, and I'm just hoping that even when St. Brown comes back, that they remember what he did last week and still continue to get him the ball more, because when he gets the ball, he does amazing. And that's another player that hasn't been doing much for me, and I finally get him to have a big week, and it still ends up in a loss, and it's just sickening.
I'm taking custody of Oreo until after football season's over with.
That's it. Well, we're gonna
make sure she's okay.
She's gonna come down here this weekend, and then she's not going back.
Yeah, Daniel had to take her on a walk because I'm pretty sure she was scarred. But to be honest with you, I wasn't thinking about Oreo in those moments. I was thinking about that. I can't even say it. Wow. What I was going through. I love the dog, but you know, when fantasy gets that rough, no, I love Oreo.
You said
but when
the
fantasy
dog.
Gets that, I know that's messed up. I didn't mean it like that. Y'all know Oreo's my daughter, but I just honestly in those moments I just see red, and I can't think of anything else but what's happening on the TV. It's hard. It's hard when you know your team is good and you're still losing. It's the hardest thing to fathom.
Okay, well, at least your team's not bad like last year when you had no chance week in and week out, and you just had to do it because the schedule doesn't stop. I've said this. By the way, I had a question for you about 2 receivers. This is from Cameron. Should I start Valdez-Scantling or Julio Jones?
I feel like, okay, let's see. Who's Valdez-Scantling up against this week?
Packers are playing, let's see here. They're playing at home against the Giants. Julio's with Tampa Bay. They're at home against Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta's terrible this year. I would go with Julio Jones because I feel like they haven't been utilizing Julio that much because Brady only looks at Evans. But I'll say I would go with Julio this week because I'm not playing any of them, so you should have a good week because I'm sure Julio will finally have a big game. So I'll say Julio.
Packers are also playing very early Sunday morning, 8:30 Central, against the Giants. That game is in London, so that's a long road trip for both of those teams. So you're scoring a lot of points. I've said this to you. Just keep knocking on the door. Don't you think it all evens out? Are any of the other girls in your league sending you text messages to make sure you're okay? Are they enjoying this?
I'm frustrated because I'll ask them, I'll say, does anybody else get as upset as I do about losing? And I don't think that they do. And I say, maybe it's because I have to do this show every Thursday. And it's like after I finally get over it, by Wednesday, I think I start to finally, get over it, kind of, sort of, not. But then I have to relive it on Thursday and tell the world that I've lost once again. But, yeah, I don't think that the rest of the girls take it as seriously as I do. So, really, I'm just trying to ask them how they don't so that I can stop taking it so seriously. But it's just a constant – I'm just competitive, and I don't want to lose, and I don't want to come on here and say that I've lost again. But like you said, I can say that I'm way more confident in my team this year than I am last year. So it's like, even though I'm losing, at least I don't have to be upset and discouraged with the way my players are performing. I feel like they're still consistently doing a good job. And so that keeps me hopeful. And, it's only been 4 weeks. We still have 10 weeks to go. And I know other girls that have started off with losses in the beginning of the season, and then they end up in the championship. So I just have to hope that the way I'm still putting up points, that eventually I'll start getting some wins and can still, at least make it into the playoffs.
By the way, I lied to you about Valdez-Scantling. He plays for Kansas City. They're playing the Raiders. So he's on Patrick Mahomes' team.
Okay, well, I would still say, with the way Brady was playing last week, maybe put Julio in this week, so that, because he's due for a game. He's due for a good game.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, another thing that's concerning me this week is, Waddle's been one of my top performers, who I love, but last week he didn't get me very many points, but that's because, as people know, that Tua gets knocked out. And once he went out of the game, it just completely ruined my receptions with Waddle, because bobbling Bridgewater comes in and clearly only looks at Tyreek the whole time. But, I do think that once it's hard to come in not only after you lose your star quarterback to such a rough injury, but also to unexpectedly come into a game. So hopefully he'll work some things out, during practice this last week, and things will get better. But I do need to make a decision whether I want to keep Waddle in this week until I kind of see, what Bridgewater's doing, or until Tua comes back, or go with Godwin, who is on the Bucs with Brady, and see if I should go that route this week. But I feel like with Paul not here today, maybe Garrett can help me, because I need to decide between those two.
Who are you trying to decide between?
Between Godwin and Waddle, because with Bridgewater, if he's playing, I'm assuming Tua is still out. So I'm trying to decide if I keep Waddle in this week and just hope that Bridgewater and him have a better connection, or go with Godwin.
Ugh, I think I would have to ride with Godwin in that situation. I just don't trust Bridgewater.
I know, me neither. And okay, all right, Godwin. And then here's the position that's messing me up, because I had relied on James Conner to be my running back 2 position, and I've been extremely disappointed with him, not only because I feel like he hasn't been as productive ever since he went out with his injury in week 2, but I'm also regretting it because I skipped out on Saquon Barkley in the draft to get James Conner. I also skipped out on Aaron Jones that same pick. So this is one of those picks that's been haunting me. And they had Eno Benjamin and Darrell Williams in a lot during the game last week. So I'm scared that because of Conner's inconsistency and injuries, that it's hurting his amount of play, and I just can't trust him. But I have to decide on my running back 2 position. I did drop Rashad Penny last week, and of course he had a huge game. And I did that because I picked up Khalil Herbert, who didn't have that great of a game, but I did get Penny back on the waivers. So I'm trying to decide for the running back 2 position between Penny, Herbert, James Conner. And I do also have Antonio Gibson, but I'm feeling like he might start splitting some carries with Brian Robinson in the next couple of weeks, who's expected to return after a gunshot wound, put him out in August. But I don't know. I don't know who I should go with in that second position.
Yeah, I don't know. Brian Robinson is a great story in itself, him coming back after being shot to be able to get back to being active. By the way, from Justin on the chat room, just to give you a heads up, Godwin dealing with a hamstring injury. I don't know how you sit Waddle even with Tua out. He's a really good receiver. But
I know. I feel like Bridgewater was shaky last week when he came in. I mean, you could tell he just wasn't consistent. He was nervous. He was all over the place. But that's why I'm kind of hoping, with him having this week of practice, maybe he can come back and be better. I know he was good when he was with the Saints, and I feel like there could be a connection there. So I know, because if I sit Waddle, I can see him going off like he did the first week when I sat him. But Godwin's always got something going on, I feel like, lately.
Yeah,
so
I just think Waddle's too good. Again, you can text Paul. He's not here today. He'll be back next week when you do the show next Thursday, hopefully with a win.
Yeah,
right.
Hopefully.
All right, you want to put that picture up of Oreo one more time? This is a dog, according to Jennifer. It's Oreo who is like wondering what in the hell is all this noise as she's just trying to enjoy a Monday evening.
Poor Oreo.
Yeah.
Mommy's going to be better. Mom's going to be better.
Okay. All right. See you soon. Thank you very
All right,
much. Good
thank
luck.
you, guys. Love y'all. Bye.
Jennifer Smoak from Fantasy Football. Appreciate the time. Garrett, thanks for the input as well. She'll be texting Paul now for a lot to get some more information. This is 365 Sports. Pickup Outfitters. I talked to Braden Embry. I trade texts with him, also email on occasion. That new facility that is going to be amazing, not quite yet open. There have been some delays, like a lot of things when it comes to construction or distribution. But when they do, it is going to be incredible. They specialize in metal buildings, metal roofing, pipe and steel. When it comes to metal buildings, they have a gallery of what the pictures you could choose from of all the different projects they've been a part of. Color and trim options, panel options, building components, building design, metal roofing, and of course I said pipe and steel, the structural standard. Been in business since 1943. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, both Waco and Bryant. PioneerBoys.com.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Byrd Culligan Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season. And BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Byrd Culligan Ford.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's football and tailgate season. If you want product for the grill or smoker, charcoal seasonings, marinades, sauces, Waco Custom Marketplace is your home to help prep, cook, and enjoy your food. Tailgate must like brisket, tri-tip, fresh-made burgers, sausage, chicken wings, and if you want steaks, call in your order and pick them up. Bacon wrap fillets or any kind of ribeyes. USDA Select, Choice, and Prime that melt in your mouth. House-made sausage and jerky. Also, Waco Custom Marketplace, a one-stop shop for tailgating, barbecue, cook-offs, and family get-togethers, fundraisers with fair prices to you, the customer. A bakery with fresh baked bread and kolaches. There's cold beer, wine, and soft drinks. Serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. A cut above the rest. Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
All right, thank you all who have been a part of today. The text line, we've been able to read a few of your texts today. Steve Frog fan, we appreciate you as well for what you said earlier. Guys are killing it today. The vast Big 12 coverage and brilliant Cowboys coverage with regard to Helmet Gate. He's the one that said blame it on the cleanup crew, starting effective immediately, so we're going to stick to that. And, of course, the chat room has just been nonstop with from one conversation to another, most of it college football. And even today, people got into the barbecue about wherever they might be and their favorite barbecue. And Waco, of course, has some great barbecue. And one of our sponsors, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, is one of those places. All right, Garrett, no top five today. Paul's not here, so no top five today. Anything you want to add to today's show before we say goodnight?
I mean, I think we can't really understate, in my opinion, the significance of Max Johnson's injury. I think, A&M was kind of already in a turbulent situation down there. Jimbo's catching hell left and right. It's kind of unfortunate, and especially for the week of Bama. Like, that's the last thing you want, is to have your starting guy go out against Bama, because we already know what's at stake with that. But for me, I think that's one thing that kind of stands out, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's not good timing. Johnny Manziel's not on that roster, right? No. He's not on that roster. Although they did beat Bama last year with Zach Calzada. And again, that was a game. I kept watching that game. And I kept waiting for Alabama to pop it. And they just never could quite get that momentum that normally just overruns people. And there you are at the end of the game with Calzada leading them to the game-winning field goal. And coming out of the tent, the injury tent, to do that. Real quick note, Big 12 women's basketball. We mentioned a note yesterday, not around the corner. Iowa State is the preseason pick. They have 75 votes, 4 first-place votes. Texas tied with 4 first-place votes, is a point back at second. And Baylor third in the preseason. Fourth. Oklahoma is third, Baylor fourth in the Big 12 women's basketball preseason poll. I also saw this note from the Big 12 Conference. They're headed, and we're in New York City, staging an all-day promotional blitz in New York City. Brett Yormark, the Big 12 brand and the media capital of the world. Scott Drew, Hall of Fame coach Bob Huggins. A trip to the Big Apple to see the conference engage in traditional sports media as well as non-traditional outlets in the business and lifestyle media space as they try to, again, branch out up in the Big Apple. All right, Craig, anything else?
No, just looking forward to one more show before seeing some of these games and, seeing some of these results. Nothing off the top of my head, though, but, just glad to have everybody for the ride along. And if you haven't hit subscribe, just please do that. We don't ask for it and beg for it like, every podcast that you listen to or everything that you listen to. But every once in a while, if you wouldn't mind, that's the way that we ask for support, the only way that we really ask for it. So, if you could just hit subscribe, we do appreciate it.
All right, Cameron, look, the last question on the chat room. What's a better place to live, Hillsboro, Hewitt, McGregor, or Valley Mills? You have a lot of different things there. Hewitt is just north of McGregor. McGregor on 84 has some beautiful homes out there. Hewitt's a nice place. Valley Mills is kind of in the country, depends on what you're looking for. Hillsboro is about a 40-minute drive north on 35, and it's an area that's got stuff moving around that I've never really looked around in Hillsboro, but appreciate the question. Biscuits, by the way, answered that. From the list, I would prefer Valley Mills, but I'm out in the country.
Yeah, I think you can't really go too wrong with any of those spots. Garrett could chime in on that as well. But I think you're fine on most of those. I would just say Hillsboro's nowhere close to the others. Like all those places you mentioned are actually in around Waco. Hillsboro's like well over a half hour away, so it's not Waco in any way. It's basically just on your way to Dallas is what it is.
That's exactly right, yeah.
I think if it was my choice, I would pick Hewitt. I mean, I grew up in Oglesby, which is essentially the same distance from Waco as Valley Mills, so it's not easy to run to a store. You got to drive like 30 miles. So I think from a proximity standpoint, I'm riding with Hewitt.
I'll tell you what about McGregor. They've got some houses out there that are special. There's some places tucked
McGregor's
around.
SpaceX.
Yeah,
that's where SpaceX is. So I don't know if you're into the occasional eruption or whatever, then that's up your alley. But it is a nice growing area. But if I had to choose, I'm going Hewitt. That's where Midway is.
I can feel the rumbling of SpaceX launching off Lake Waco on the northwest side, and SpaceX, as Craig mentions, in McGregor, which is about a 12 to 15-minute drive or so, right on 84. It's a pretty drive, by the way. All right, thank you very much. We touched it on Kansas and Texas and much, much more today. Tomorrow we'll have Sam Bradshaw breaking down Baylor, and not this weekend because they're off, but looking at them, kind of self-scouting, and then also Grayson Grunhafer will join us. He will, again, break down the same thing and also talk recruiting. This is 365 Sports for Craig Smoak and Garrett Ross. I'm David Smoak. Have a great night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.